सोचिरहन्छु म त दिनभरि सधैँ एक मनलाई सम्झिरहन्छु एक दुई तिन मैले दिन गन्दै सोचिरहन्छु म त दिनभरि सधैँ एक मनलाई सम्झिरहन्छु झिमझिमाउने आँखाले मनै मेरो अल्झेछ आँखाले मनबाटै पुतुलकै झिमझिमाउने आँखाले मनै मेरो अल्झेछ आँखाले मनबाटै पुतुलकै मारेको
Given to settle. Quem was Whitney Bercer, Biduni Batslabuzeman.
Cada hora de treino, cada desafio enfrentado nos trouxe até aqui. Mas não estamos aqui apenas para participar. Estamos aqui para mostrar nossa força e estamos prontos para dar tudo de nós no campo de batalha.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the XL Arena in London, England, make some noise! It is time to welcome your PUBG Mobile Global Championship Grand Finalists to the main stage, kicking things off with a team with top three finishes so far. But can they get their first chicken dinner? It is the Vicious! Representing the region on the global stage, joining us now, Guild Esports. Walking into Championship Sunday in second place, but can they claim the top spot by the end of the day? It is DRX. Proudly sitting in the middle of the pack with the crowd behind them. Can they climb the ranks in our final day? Make some noise! It's TJB Esports! Once again, the most dominant team in the group stage of PMGC, but they need a really strong day to close it out. It is Team Spirit. Jumping from 14th to 6th in day 2 with 64 points. Can they pull it off one more time? It is Influence Rage! With a very impressive debut at PMGC so far, can they close it out in style? It is Incilio! Currently in second and on the hunt for that top spot. It is D plus Kia. Nothing is out of reach, but today has to be a near perfect performance. Put your hands together for Navi. Team that needs to come out swinging in our final day of the PMGC Grand Finals. Make some noise! It's Thunder Talk Gaming! Leading the charge after day 1 and currently sitting in 5th place with an extremely close point spread. It is for Miracle Vibes. Qualifying into the Grand Finals in the last chance qualifiers with over 90 points. Can they pull it off one more time? It's Falcons Force! One of the most dominant teams this year and leading one of their strongest victory for their region, attempting to bring the first global championship. Make some noise, it's Nigma Galaxy! Starting strong, but needing to get that momentum back today for a chance at the title. It is Ryan Donkey ID. Leading the pack, but only just. Can they hold on? It is Regnum Carrier, Bruh Esports! Ladies and gentlemen, our teams are prepped and ready, and it is now time for the final push. That's right, Barney. It is time for Championship Sunday!
Match of our final 6 matches of the year. All these teams fighting tooth and nail this entire year long to get themselves that chance to pick up the trophy. And right now, Regan Carrier, bro, are just 6 matches away from being able to do so. For most of them, their very first time. For Silas, time number 2.
Yeah, Nova Esports twice in a row, S2G, IHC. Finally today we are going to be crowning an entirely new team here to be your PMGC 2024 champions. But of course you've got a few names who can maybe do it again, like Silas, and that would be a huge achievement for him in particular if he can make it happen a second time with an entirely different team.
Oh man, that was also a testament to how good of a player he is, right? Helping build this roster up, get him to the point to participate in PMGC, and then to do it with an emergency sub coming in with Sarah. That'd be a perfect story.
That'll be... Sarah, want to win PMGC? Can we get a documentary about that? Because
I mean, he won PMGO, second place at PMWC, first place at PMGC for Sarah. That'd be a hell of a year for him.
Not a bad year. Pretty decent year. Not bad at all.
But obviously a lot of other teams out here fighting for that chance. I mean, we're talking about RCV, but we could have South Korea taking themselves the trophy for the first time.
That one is so close. I mean, we saw what D Plus was able to do yesterday. I gotta get started with D Plus because the big question mark for me for that team, you know what?
No, what's the question mark?
Big question mark for that team was what they were going to be able to do in Erangel. Because they won, the Erangel performances was just not there. The Miramar, we knew that they were going to be able to perform. Yesterday, though, I mean, we saw what they were able to do in Erangel. Even though they did start up slow, the last Erangel, 4th place finish with 6 eliminations, and on the previous matches, too, they were still able to get some eliminations. That is at least some improvement from the off performances that was in the first day.
Definitely a big step up from them.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, would you rather be...
I feel like, especially for D+, which is a team that I'm really behind today, I feel like this is the time to just stop that pattern that we have seen out of them the whole year.
It's kind of nice because you're all supporting D plus Kia for this one. I'm actually going for DRX because I think there's a little bit more variety in their gameplay on different battlegrounds. They've done good on Erangel, they've done good on Miramar in the second day more specifically, and I think that because of that, they maintain that kind of consistency today. It's a very good chance they can overtake D plus and even maybe Regnum Kare Brown.
I mean, you're talking about DRX, you're talking about consistency. They had in the last 4 matches a first place, 2 third places, and a 4th place with some decent eliminations in every single one of those matches. If they can mimic that consistency today, they're going to be lifting that trophy no matter what.
Yeah, I really believe there's a really big chance it could be happening. But again, the year of uncertainty. We don't know who's going to be taking it, right? Some of the smaller names below them could be taking it, like Influence Rage. We had Alpha 7 in the lobby. You talked about it, right? What a surprise for
Okay.
them. That's huge.
Let's get a chance to talk about some of those teams that are not within that first page, right? That it is a very long shot. It's more than if they're going to be possibly pushing just for a top 3. Alpha 7, Falcons. There is another team as well that I'm going to be looking at is the Vicious. We know that they don't care. We know that, I mean, they have personally told me we're just here for the experience. We're here because we got nothing to lose, and we've been playing like that since league stage. And boy, this team is not afraid to maybe pick a target within that leaderboard and just make their day a little bit harder and make it miserable for them.
We saw it happen with Vampire 2 years ago, right? They were at the bottom of the rankings. In day 3, they come in, go to what was it, top 6 in a matter of just a few matches alone. So any team can definitely pull off that comeback. But if you really want to compete for the top 8, 7, I think it's fair to say we don't need a top 3 in the first match or 2. We need a win. We need to see a big win, just like we see PMGC do every once in a while. They're talking about them. If they start off that way, they could also be raised.
You're talking about from the teams on the second page?
Yes.
Yeah, we would need like back-to-back wins with, for me, minimum 20 plus eliminations, because we know that the teams at the top, yeah, they might slow down in one match, but they will recover from that and quickly.
I think that as we go through the day, we're going to start being like, you're out as we get further.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about teams trying to get eliminations, I mean, I know we talked a little bit, but in Cilio, they were very consistent in just getting their eliminations constantly throughout the day. And to be honest, if you're a team within, I'd say maybe like top 5, top 6, maybe top 7, if you're consistent with your limbs, there's a very good chance you could be the one overtaking first place as well. For you guys at home who are watching, make sure you check out Infinix, the Infinix GT20 Pro. We've been using it all year. PMGC in a lot of the PMSLs, not to mention our PMGC with its dual chipset 144 Hz AMOLED screen. I really want to see the camera reel on this after you guys are done with the entire event.
You don't want to see the outtakes.
Yes.
You don't want to see a lot of outtakes.
Great quality, Jason. I see your weird faces every time I roll.
Yeah, I'm so glad we don't have a single shot, so you can actually show that one.
Well, we can post it over on Instagram or something like that, right? But also, with your Infinix GT20 Pro, you can head over to India's Gaming and Esports District. And it's not just for esports, it's dedicated to all communities, all games, and all fans from all walks of life. So make sure you guys check it out over in next year, where we are getting closer to this first match. Now, I don't want to ask you who's going to win, because honestly, that is the most difficult question you can ask anyone out here, especially going into PMGC, but even into the final day. But I want to hear your potential, like, realistic dark horse. Who could show up today and be that team to surprise?
Ooh.
I have to say, and you can see our predictions here. South Korea, I'm looking at them, but 4MV, again.
Are they considered dark
Yeah.
horse? I mean, I guess we should,
Because they were not supposed to be here,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, the whole idea of they initially did not even qualify for the grand finals, and they put up a great performance. I think we've seen many improvements, especially early macro-wise from the team. Like,
Yes.
Rob going out super early in these matches is definitely becoming a major threat here. I think going from qualifying to winning the whole thing would be an interesting story.
Yeah. I think for me, for me as well, you mentioned it, with the way that they've been able to manage certain things, it just comes down to if they can control those splits, especially if they're center of the circle.
Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to stop talk and start game. We're going to head over to our commentators to drop us into our first match. John on the blank, what about you guys? Who are some dark horses you're looking at today?
I mean, I have to kind of echo what Dusker said there, but I also am hoping that we're going to see potentially TJB stand up and come back into the mix of things as well, push all the way to the top of the tables. The Chinese team. We got some influence rage.
Let me move.
Influence Rage, baby! That's one!
I think I'll
I
say
think
that.
our Brazilian people there.
They've got a point.
Do Brazil!
They've got a point. Influence rage will be certainly putting up some shifts over the
How is
last.
he louder than you right now, John? That's what
He's doing well. He is doing
I
well.
can't hear you at all, but
I want to get the flag so bad.
You went straight into Bumble, bro. This man over here's got 10,000 on.
You just got minus 10,000. So
I'm filled up.
yeah, break some noise.
Okay.
Because it is going to be insane. I mean, for me, my dark horse definitely probably DRX. I know they're quite towards the top, but the thing is, I think that they've been slowly climbing, right? And I think teams now need to be worried about this squad. Them and D+, I mean, South Korea looks pretty terrifying at the moment, but DRX is consistently towards that end game, has consistently strong performances.
Absolutely. We're getting some visitors. We're getting some visitors over on the desk. Thank you very much, Seven. Giving us a little talk fans in the arena, which has been definitely, yeah. Well, Mr. Whatever. What I'm saying is, there's plenty of representation here in these finals, in this arena, and that has been building that excitement across the board for every single team. You can hear it as we're getting more run past. Let's see if Mongolia can keep towards the top of the tables as well. I don't know how many more flags we're going to have running in behind us, but I'm ready for it.
I mean, for 4MV, I mean, let's see if they keep the wind in their steps. Honestly, that is the main thing that we're looking at here, because honestly, 4MV, last minute invite, it's tough. It's very tough, but I do think they've redeemed themselves here. I think they could stand tall going into day 3, knowing that they have done all that they can to potentially grab themselves a first place, or at least a top 3 here in our final day of PMGC 2024. It's all happened so quickly this year, and we are getting into Sandhawk. Our first game marks the first challenge for these teams looking for a first place position to take home the trophy.
It is just
It was a lie.
It was just a fake out. We're getting you ready for that beautiful trophy is where our teams have their eyes set for now. It is all down to the wire. And everybody needs to keep their nerves together. None more so, I think, than Alpha 7. Their year so far has been momentous. They've had an incredible performance. I mean, second back over in PMGO. The start of the year, winning PMWC in the middle of the year over Riyadh, where they were able to shake that curse, right? That always second place feeling that Alpha 7 felt over the last few years. They were able to stand at the top of the totem and lift that trophy. But here, the task is monumental for them now, and I think that if they can keep their cool, they can do it, but it is a question of how quickly can they snap on.
I mean, to be honest with you, for Alpha 7, it's looking really quite dire for them down towards the bottom of the tables. And I think for PMWC, it was great. It was great they were able to get a win there. I think for Alpha 7, though, a lot of that tension, teams don't work well underneath it. I think Alpha 7 is one of those few teams that is taut like a spring, and that's when they have their most explosive energy. After that, PMWC, I think the tension just washed away. It was a relief for them. I'm not saying they got complacent, but I think because that pressure left them a little bit coming into PMGC, it's a slightly different story for them, right? And I think that you can't be on top of the world forever. They have been consistently in the top 3 for such a long time. I think if you're an Alpha 7 fan, don't feel too bad about this tournament, honestly. You got to look back at all the consistency they've had throughout the years. Though I do think if it is Alpha 7, they could likely jump up to a stronger position. I'm not thinking they're overtaking our top squads though.
It would be a really tall order considering the quality, the caliber of the lobby in general. It is so hard to chase anyone down in this lobby, in this situation. I'm looking at Team Spirit as well, in a sort of similar situation to Alpha 7 was at PMWC. They've always been in a top 5 consideration, right? They've never been able to push towards that top 1. If there's a tournament to do it, it's now. We were talking before and you were saying, you think Nomi may just be the best player in the world right now for PUBG Mobile, and I would back you up on that. I think he's phenomenal and an excellent credit to the team. This roster, as it is right now for Team Spirit, is a champion roster. They need to show up today.
That is the issue with Team Spirit, is that they swing wildly between performance to performance. And I think it's difficult. I will 100% stand by the fact that I do think that Nomi is currently the best player in the world. It's hard to top him consistently, top the damage numbers every single time. Though, teamwork is the name of the game here over in PUBG Mobile, and that's what we want to see on Sandhawk. London, make some noise for the first game of PMGC Championship Sunday.
The plane will take us over the jungle for the final time of 2024. Sandhawk for the last entry. Who will rise above? Who will control those crossings? Who's going to be able to wend their way through the undergrowth and make a meal out of this one?
It's a short amount of games, 6 matches ahead of us, and that's all you grab. The Vicious dropping in, I think that's on top of TJB if I'm not mistaken. A hot drop to start things off.
Getting in real quick for this one, TJB. With one player on 2 in this building, you can see the rest of TJB looking to try and regroup. The rest of the Vicious, I think they're a little bit further away. So right now, inside of this Southside Camp Charlie, it is a 2v4 in the favor of TJB, but the Vicious are going to be looting. They're going to be trying to hold this fight at arm's distance until the rest of the team can move up to the hills that surround it. TJB need to be careful here.
TJB, they had a run out yesterday, now looking to push it a little bit further. Let's get us off the map. Let's look at this fight right now, because it's very important for both teams. It's a great starting point for them. The Vicious is 60 points, TJB tied. Who will go ahead? That is the real question here for both squads. TJB, Longs, as well as Triple S, the triple threat down below. Could potentially grab a shot over towards them. Awkward sight lines for both teams currently.
You can see those hills on the south edge of this one, though, under control. Renozin nearly gets the frag, but not quite able to go the full Monty there. Get the knock that they were looking for. It is still just back and forth, but the knock over towards Longs is pretty nasty. Isolated as well. The Vicious have put themselves in the advantage here. They don't have to worry about players spotting them on the high ground, but Triple S steps up, stands tall for TJB, keeps them in the running on the match. Reyes has been spotted, and the Vicious lose one. Fully flushed away. Can they find an answer?
Adrenaline shot straight to the heart, 676 there, and to the heart of the team, because they'll need it going forward. Keep themselves alive. Triple S is down though, and the Vicious starts to dismantle. Over towards TJB.
3 players looking to move through on Camp Charlie, south side. The first game today for TJB to try and keep this one going. Push out of that 10th place where they sit right now. Around the corner, David goes low, but the trade is there from Diminor. And 676, the next to fall. 2 players eliminated, 1 player knocked. Longs is still there on the high ground, and Flower just trying to get away from it.
Flower wilts away from this one. Not possible to go any further into that engagement. For the Vicious, they take the first dub there. 2 elims to them. They lost 1 player for it, but I think they'll be pretty happy with that result. 4MV on your screens, already finding some good knocks over towards Na'Vi. 5th place team, straight up into 3rd with that 1 elim.
Shows you how close these tables are, and at every single point
Mommy! Buale balon baha.
as well, Blank, as we get towards the
Buale balon baha ne.
every single inch you can extract from
Kino
these
jano na.
matches is crucial as Refus finds another step towards the top of the tables, adding to their tally.
Another knock for 4MV, which is most likely going to be flushed here. And only be happier. Na'Vi rocks straight up into another trap. It's D+. Fabian finds the first shot. It is disgusting. And Na'Vi down to 1. Fabian with a reload. Immediately around the corner. Might be looking to drop the nade. But 6 is up front of personal. But Fabian doesn't waver an inch.
He's got Nolbu coming in for the backup, but he sends him away, says, I've got this handled. I'm fine on the inside. And Fabian racks up 2 for South Korea. Now only 4 points behind RCB.
RCB currently up towards Cal side of things. They've got a little while before they do get stuck into the fighting down towards that south side though. It's a long rotate for them. Circle did head over towards the east around Lakawi and Kampong. Team Spirit still making that rotate. D+ once again looking for even more eliminations. Good tag on the vehicle, but Enigma Galaxy do get away.
Navallo safe for a little moment longer, but they're moving up towards 4MVs. Draw a little bit short this compound here, just to the south of 4MV's hold. To circle out towards that quarry location. We're looking at teams look to condense there. Refus is lighting it up as well. Navallo was low before, but he still has a little bit of cover. Those buildings were not under control for 4MV, and I think this is discipline from Enigma Galaxy. Not to go too far. They know they haven't scouted enough to be able to push forwards to their north side, but they do now have the info that 4MV hold that compound on their north edge.
Concilio over towards that north side though. 4MV learned their lesson from yesterday, which is nice to see actually. Considering they pushed far up towards that north side of Hainan, and Concilio catches them off guard. Today, 4MV says, we do not want any of that smoke. They move down towards that southeast side, which is the smart decision. It's the correct decision. I'm glad that 4MV did go over that game. It was like, yes, what we did was silly, but we can quickly patch up any of those major mistakes.
Red Leg vigilant over towards 4MV's position here, towards their south. The hill to the east of Painan. They make Thunder Talks approach hard as well. Silio hold that west side solid. RCB, in the meantime, on that northeast edge, rotating in past Camp Bravo, looking to push in past Kawi. Alpha 7 will potentially be the first team to meet them there. The Falcons are out to the west of it as well. A difficult approach, sure, but it should be fairly safe for this current circle. Getting into the next ones, though, a lot more treacherous.
For RCB, it's a 4-point lead right now over D+. The pressure is monumental going today for RCB. It's going to be a struggle. But I think it all starts here over on Sandhawk. If they're able to get themselves a couple of eliminations, a few placement points, and just keep themselves ahead of the game. They don't want to be playing catch-up today. They want other teams to be chasing them down. They want to be leading from the front, and that starts on Sandhawk. A relatively chaotic map at times, but RCB has got to harness that one. They've got to get this under control and bring a little bit of order back to Sandhawk itself.
Here have been pretty influential in bringing some order on this south side as well. They're holding this wide 2-1-1 split right now around the cave, slowing down everything on the south edge. They're potentially reading into the idea that, well, those river crossings, they're going to be pretty chock-a-block right now. They're going to be busy. So teams are going to help us to stagnate that west side. Instead, let's lock down the majority of this south edge. They've retreated to a 2-2 split now, and they're looking to rotate around to control more of this circle as it sits into stage 2. But they have had a massive effect at keeping teams towards the edge on the south and the southwest.
The DRX and D+ both have fairly strong positions, both on high ground at the moment. Particularly a good spot to play for Kaitsei. Over towards a nice, really strong outpost, which is fairly dead central. They also have 2 players in Soas, and I believe that's Hyunbin as well, over towards the eastern side of Quarry, just managing those rotates. Thundertalk, though, opening up with a barrage over towards Voin Donkey.
First knock goes over to Shing. That's potentially resible here, depending on how fast Thundertalk move into this fight. This isn't in the circle blank, and within 20 seconds, it will start to move across them. It's only stage 2, sure, but that will be a massive amount of pressure to put on this fight. Potato is getting rezzed as we speak, though. He is back to his feet. Fall back, get some healing done. Try and re-engage on your terms. Void Donkey ID, they leave Razak in the building with the shotgun playing behind the window. Nade in hand, they want to bait them in. Incilio have high ground oversight to third party this as well, Blank, remember. That makes Thundertalk's approach a little bit more messy. Falling back yet again, giving ground. Void Donkey ID, I think may want to try and get out the backside of this one, but Potato goes down again to a nade, and Thundertalk keep up the pace.
Thundertalk keep pressing Void Donkey, and all he can do slightly move backwards with Hawaii not going down there. But a good Molotov from Zeta will pick up one. They'll lose a player themselves. The bleed out comes through for Potato, and now it's the 3 rookies. They will have to go onwards without their vet on side.
AJ wanting to put a nade in towards his teammate to try and keep him safe on the beat. Zeta takes a wing on the side.
Wow.
Threads the needle with the DBS, but there's an immediate answer. The barrage of buckshot sends him back, and it's a trade. Zeta will be resible here in the stage 2 blue zone. AJ is low. That gives Vexy time to move up and into the close quarters combat. King getting res, so is Zeta. 2 players on the top floor, AJ and Vexy on the ground floor. 1 player lost a piece, and Incilio are watching this all unfold. They've actually flexed out to be closer to it, Blank. They know that as soon as this fight concludes, there's points to be had.
No matter what happens here, it's likely going to be a fairly rough run out from either team that escapes from this. They'll likely have to send heavily towards that north side. They should understand that there's teams off towards their east here. Thundertalk waiting it out though. Still stage 2. It's breathable inside this blue. It's going to start to suffocate when it comes around to stage 3, stage 4. We'll wait for that circle shift. Right now, DRX just owns so much ground towards that central side of things. Alpha 7 has been poking over at Falcons, trying to clip their wings.
Trying to get a little bit of that central of the circle. It's pretty fast. The next circle is about to pop as Thundertalk are moving in, continuing this combat into the east side of Quarry, so they have to get a move on now on this fight. I don't know if they're going to be able to go for this res now, Blank. Thundertalk, they lose another. The last player to stand, and the 3 rookies from Void Donkey ID keep their cool, but there's still one more to go. It's Singh playing around the corner now, looking for the stunner. Only has 3 smokes and this in the pocket, so no nades to speak of. Trying to hold down 3 players from Point Donkey ID. Razak with the fight, but he's watching the wrong corner, and Zeta swings on him wide. Thundertalk go down in our first match of the day, 14th place, and it's our 3rd team to fall.
Fuseo, sure he's out. He may be baked, but the rest of the team carries on without him. Good hold as well as was Thundertalk's. Difficult re-entry to the circle though, going forward for Point Donkey, but a good hold. And one that will inspire confidence in them going towards those future games. A lot of their matches has resulted in quite a few early exits from the circle, so it must be nice for them, especially on Sandhawk, chaotic fight like that, to know that they can hold their own. Alpha 7 with that circle shift though will get fairly central position for themselves over towards that eastern side. They already know the rough location of the Falcons. DRX though, some wonderful shots over towards 4MV, who are taking a dangerous tactic. The vehicle is on fire and 4MV has to hop.
The southeast compound of this quarry so dominant over the rotations in this area. Losing only 1 on this rotation for 4MV, I think, is actually not a terrible result, all things considered. A bit of a mad dash for them past these compounds. Team Spirit, they're on the northwest side. They've moved Matic forwards across the quarry, but they've got a backstop, and Incilio are running face first into it for now. A nade over towards Westron, doesn't quite connect, but there's the spray down from Nomi. A 1-2 punch. Brilliant stuff from Team Spirit to hold their backlines. You've got 2 players up on the north edge. Nomi down a little bit closer towards the south. Matic's already got a foothold across the quarry. They can make this rotate.
Great read from Matic, actually. You leave 3 players behind. You know any team that's going to be coming out from the blue there is going to be pretty desperate at that point in time. But Matic, all the while, was watching for DRX because they recently, up until just a few moments ago, actually held that building that he is now in. As soon as he sees them move, he takes the executive call, moves over there, and now it's an anchor point created. This is some good play starting out for Team Spirit. Feels a lot more like how we saw them dominate over in their group stage. Worrying for a couple of teams coming off the back of this one. In the meantime, though, we do have a lot of squads still inside this circle. It's one of the few areas that does have a lot of compounds, a lot of buildings, a lot of shacks to play around with, fair few rocks as well.
Looking to line up the shots, but getting the peaks he's looking for over towards the Vicious. Enigma Galaxy, Point Donkey ID behind them. The circle shifts out far to the east, so both of these 2 teams are going to have to leave the cave mountain. Point Donkey ID are not pausing, they're not going to stop, they're just instead going to leapfrog ahead of Enigma Galaxy and spread straight on through. DRX control this rotate against 4MV before. Will they be able to find 1 player from Point Donkey ID? Razak goes low, and 4MV already there as well after making this exact same rotate. But they're not stepping up, they're not finding these shots if they are. Point Donkey ID sails straight on through.
That is a wild rotate coming through from Point Donkey. The reason everyone's so surprised there is because everyone's waiting for them to stop. Everyone's waiting for them to get out of their vehicle. No one expects Point Donkey to make the mile-yard rotation directly to the center of the circle. It's actually an insane play, but with that circle shift, RCB controls a majority of the eastern side. Not now that Point Donkey showed up though. They're able to get all the way into Campong on that northwest side because of RCB's large split. It is surprising they're here. What an awesome rotate from them.
I don't know how they managed to make it work. And the good thing is that only Wild is in Campong with them, which means that it's fairly secure for the time being. RCB potentially looking to try and change that. The 4MV ridgeline right now that runs down the middle of this circle flank is also incredibly powerful, but only if they actually protect it, because they didn't against Point Donkey ID, so they'll have to figure out how to get that one done in moments to come. Falcons have been in this compound for a while. We're on board with them now. They are playing on this northwest side with Guild and Team Spirit just around the corner. 2 teams both look to push them away. They're going to have to leave as well. D+ Kia, they spot Alvalo and Enigma Galaxy take their first knock of the match.
Now, current second place team here, D+. They push forward. They had information on Enigma Galaxy since very early in this game, actually. There've been someone stalking them through Sandhawk. Well, slowed down even more. In the meantime, it's Team Spirit heading over towards Guild. Falcons, though, can stretch out. They no longer have a position to play. Good net at the top. That actually might find one from Falcons, if I'm not mistaken.
Doesn't quite connect fully onto East, and there's a knock-on to effect. This is stage 4. You need to get out of the blue zone to res. They'll need to pick him up and get away fast, or just give up the ghost on the player and play on his 3. It looks like that may be what they're going for, because Matic and Nomi are both low as well. They don't have the time to spare to go for this one. A dash through the smoke. Falcons lose East up on the high ground, sure, but Team Spirit lose one as well. And really not that much to play around with. Kitsune is there to stand for them. And up on the higher ground will be able to give them an avenue in. The Falcon sightlines dispatched, and they are really now threadbare on the north side.
Really good shot, a necessary shot in that moment as well. They're able to peek down the hill there. It gets all that harder. Top currently on Pride Rock and has a lovely angle. First shot takes a little while to connect, but he gets 2. And Team Spirit losing both their players is a horrendous result for them. Top's going to attempt to run in, but he might have already done enough to dash the hopes of Team Spirit on this game.
I think Nomi can move up. The circle still has 15 seconds. They can res at least 1, so it's not all over for them just yet. We'll see how much more they can get done. DRX, meanwhile, on the southwest side with D+ here. A derby unfolding between the two South Korean teams. Osal gets knocked with chips already down. The favor goes the way of DRX. They've been in that compound for a long time. And now they've had to run out, and they are controlling down towards this south flank. You've got the Galaxy behind it all as well. 4MV in front. Miracle Vibes wanting to hold onto the edge of their ridgeline for as long as possible.
Yeah, 4MV, they have a great opportunity to hold a lot of teams out. Wild still in that compound alongside Kampong with Vicious now. He shared that position for quite some time. DRX going blow for blow alongside with D+, Nick the Galaxy and 4MV.
RCB able to take care of the Vicious over towards Kampong seemingly. A lot of damage done as the Galaxy are answering towards D+ Kier, but finally they too will be dispatched. In short order, Wild is down inside Kampong. Goodness me, it's all popping off here on the south side. And Alpha 7, who have been quiet for so long now, can start to flex out from their compound. Mafioso's moving down towards the south, towards 4MV, and Voin Donkey ID. Influence Rage up on the north edge as well for Revo to handle.
Yeah, for Alpha 7, this is a good starting point for them to start jumping up the lobby. The fact that Voin Donkey is still inside this lobby and also doing fantastically well is a massive surprise to me. DRX still attempting to move through, but he's put down by 4MV's final player, Baron. But a 7 elim match is awesome for 4MV.
Getting up in towards top 5 would be brilliant, and at the moment it looks like RCB may potentially be the next to fall, but Baron has to make moves to Nick the Galaxy. Now with just Ralph left on the south side, could potentially be dangerous. Diego spots Silas in the grass. He was the only player for RCB in this next circle. Loxy across the road, behind the rock. Gonna have to make a mad dash, and 4 players for Influence Rage. The Dark Horses that had plenty of support here, ramping up the pace from yesterday, continuing it into the first match now. Only 3 elims as it stands on this match, but there's plenty more still to come.
Yeah, they've had multiple second place finishes yesterday. They were very consistent overall and shot up with plenty of points. Now Loxy, last here, finds Diego, immediately goes for a heal. Influence Ray should know of his position. He's just stacking points on this one. That's a lovely nade up towards the backside. Levers it with a unbelievable arm on him.
Lorazin lobs it in with the skyball over to Loxy. Takes him out on that north edge. 3 players though for Influence Rage. The fact that there was an elimination gained there for RCB could as well be incredibly important. Finally now, Alpha 7 have entered the match. There's only 3 teams remaining. They've got 3 elims, so they need to try and push for more. They need a miraculous day. But Razak's here, and Voin Donkey ID have 8 themselves. 3 players alive and 8 eliminations to play on this ridgeline as well. If they can rebuff Influence Rage, who are, of course, diminished in power, with that player going down, there's a real big chance for Voin Donkey ID here.
I mean, it's a 3 versus 3 versus 3. It's completely evens across the board. The difference is Voin Donkey ID's got a lot of space to play with here going forward. and can force both Alpha 7 and Influence Rage to have to take fights with one another. Influence Rage, though, understands this. Will move further over towards our eastern side. From their DID, though, getting scarily close to where Carrillo is playing.
Playing together here, Influence Rage. Trying to move over that ridgeline, isolate the fight. Sainta waiting on in towards Alpha 7 and goes down. Carrillo with the SK-12 puts him in his place. A little bit too bold there. It's actually the nade from Razak to take him out of the mix. The Molotov, and Razak's here with the shotgun around the side. And Alpha 7 get demolished. Brazil lose one, but they still got another horse in this race.
Void Donkey, razor sharp with Razor on that front line. Now Influence Rage look to move forward. Can Void Donkey ID hold on? After a miracle charge to the other side of the map, Influence Rage looks to put them down.
Vexy on the front line. 2 players to go into it. 8 elims for Razak already. And they need 3 more. Vexy, he's a long-range specialist, but put him in the boiler. And let's see what he's got. 3 players close by. Law the first to face. Razak standing up. Gets taken down, and it's a 1v3. First is taken out. Vexy has health. No way. Spotted through the smoke, sprayed low. Little boy on the back line. Dead center on the circle as Vexy approaches the rock. Little boy making the dash to try and back it up. DBS in hand. They're playing one side of the rock. Vexy gets clipped here. Low HP, and he will need these shots to find, but it will not come through. Influence Rage right over the ridgeline. And Void Donkey ID plays second.
What a game from them. The commit to the angle as well was insane, but it is Influence Rage. The expectations were big. Let's talk to the analysts over on the desk and see what they thought about that game.
Ladies and gentlemen, do Brazil being able to get the first win of the final day of PMGC. We were talking about a dark horse. We were mentioning Influence Rage. This is how you want to start.
That's a massive chicken dinner from them. They were relatively silent in the early game too, just waiting on the road trifecta, and they strike at the perfect time here to try and secure themselves that chicken dinner. But so many cool players, like Void, Razor, what just happened?
Oh, wait, Diego, he's smiling.
He
For the
got
first time,
he's smiling?
Yeah, like you're saying, Void Donkey, I mean, we got to talk to Defy. He got to actually duct tape your mouth shut, tie you up. It worked out pretty well here as they had a phenomenal performance. And Max, I know you and Seth wanted to dive into what they did to get themselves into that late game.
Yeah. First of all, we got to get started with Void Donkey versus Thunder Talk. It was Razak that allowed the team to kind of have a bit of a buffer. Vexy was able to push up because they were in a huge disadvantage. Not only that, the insane push that Voinky decided to do to the middle of the circle, it was absolutely ridiculous. It's something along the lines of what we've seen from Enigma Galaxy try to do over and over again here in Senhawk. He actually ended up working out for Void Donkey.
Yeah, Void Donkey, really, really good timing. I'm sure we're going to be diving a lot more into Void Donkey. We have to go through the replays here. But yeah, Razor had a really good angle to try and assist Vexy making it over to the rock. That rock was just so pivotal, and Void wanted to even have a chance to secure the first win of day 3 for this year's PMGC. And then Law just falls pretty much instantly. But yeah, that first elimination was very important. And if Razor does not get knocked off, I think it was a Void win.
Talk about the 1v3 clutch
But,
that he just got against Alpha 7 Max, because I was not expecting. It's like, okay, we were even talking about it. Alpha 7's got nothing to lose today. Alpha 7's probably going to try to have a 90-point day, secure themselves at least within the top 3 if possible. That was not the case. Razak said, we're going to just crash those streams.
S12K kind of good.
S12K, really good. You kind of get why Alpha 7 sets it up there, right? Because they want to send it not on the center of the circle, otherwise, guess what? You're going to get pincer between both Void Donkey ID and, of course, the other side of Influence Rage. So they try and just go and wrap southwest into the side of Razor of Void Donkey ID. But they all push 7 in the exact same area, right down the rock, 1 by 1. And guess what? It's perfect to deal with that kind of scenario. A DPS, or in this case, an S12K that just did the job in 5 seconds.
Even that, man. I mean, he just mowed them down, and obviously Void Donkey, they need to have a pretty big day if they want to be a team that could contest, getting themselves a first-place finish and bringing the trophy home back over to Southeast Asia. And also brings me to my point here. If you were to say a team to take it home to Brazil, I don't think Influence Rage would have been on the tip of your tongue. It would have been Alpha 7. But right now, if Influence Rage can mimic performance like they did yesterday, which they're starting to do so far off the bat, it could be them lifting the trophy, taking it to Brazil for the first time ever.
Yesterday, going into Sandhawk, they were able to get that second place finish today. They're able to just improve on that with that first place. The next Myanmar, though, is going to be a huge tell because we have already seen something that we were kind of hinting at the beginning of the show, and that was some of the teams that just got nothing to lose. One that comes to mind automatically, the Vicious. The Vicious ended up fighting TJB, and on top of that, I mean, TJB were saying maybe there's a slight chance day 3 is the real day 1 for this team. Somehow they're going to be able to pull this off. The Vicious said, no. We're not going to let that happen. We're just going to stop you in your tracks.
I think that you and Jason Rice were talking a little bit earlier about how Vicious has nothing to lose realistically, and to some extent, right, going into this, so they're just going to see a team, they're going to send it. They've done it along the past, but now they're even more somewhat desperate to make this place happen because why the hell not? And it actually kind of worked out. It was a back and forth between
It's what makes them so dangerous. Is the fact that like they didn't expect to be here. They didn't expect to get to the grand finals, and right now they're still doing relatively well. But they could put a stop to a lot of dreams here out of the other team.
I mean, not even just them, right? A lot of the teams at the bottom are going to start to get very desperate and become a major threat. Like Alpha 7, sure, they go in and they get clutched up by Razor, but their transition from where they dropped to after that, going in the northern side of that dip on the road, that compound to eliminate then Team Spirit and Falcons, that was a very, very important play for them until Razor happened, and that's not a good thing.
I mean, regardless of what has happened in the first 2 days with Alpha 7, you see them being able to put up 4 eliminations. If you're one of those teams currently hunting down that championship first place, yes, stuff like that can definitely stop you.
I mean, you look at Alpha 7, right? And on a normal day, it would be like 9 points. That's pretty good for a Sinnoh. That's pretty good points if you want to get yourself towards the top, if you're already at the top. The problem is they're so far down that they need to have even more explosive games in this. That's a good start. I'm not going to fully count them out just yet, but they have a lot of stepping up to do, just like another team out there, 7.
Yeah, 4MB in Sandhawk, we were talking about at the beginning of the day as well with 4MB. What is this team going to be able to do when they get all their players towards the center of the circle? Max, once again, they do end up losing 1 player. It was just 3 players, but they were still able to save the game with 7 eliminations.
Yeah, I mean, you saw 4MB. They were almost trying to gatekeep multiple teams. It was DRX, David Galaxy, and D+, but that's when Wondonkey decided to go for the push onto them to punish them.
Yeah, exactly what I wanted to talk about. 4MB had a really good game plan here to try and gatekeep all of those southern teams, but Void understood, wait, as a team holding down all of those southern squads, you could just leapfrog them and pick up all of the eliminations very naturally. Even Alpha 7 could not deal with such good rotation from them. So Void, the macro, absolutely on point. Stellar performance already in this first game.
Now being in the top 8 there for Donkey as well. For 4MB, we know there's a lot of fans here in the arena for them. Currently being able to push up in 3rd place. You were talking about a dark horse. That is the way that you want to position yourself at the beginning of the day.
You even see the Vicious moving up here as well into 10th place. We did see Wondonkey in 8th place, 23 points out from 1st, which is very doable. That technically could be 1 match for them if they have a big win to overtake 7 other teams, put themselves in 1st.
Yeah, Team Spirit, though, they actually, for the very first time, actually dropped down to the 2nd page for these grand finals. And they had an amazing first day, right? An amazing first day. They got 2 chicken dinners in 3 matches alone, and that was a really good step up. But being on 2nd page with 2 wins, we need to see some presence from Team Spirit because here their push northwest was not a bad entry point, but when you're dealing with Falcons, you're dealing with Alpha 7 at the same time, you maybe want to be a bit more proactive to make sure you're not being held off by all those insanely good teams.
That's so crazy. Teams like Falcons, teams like Alpha 7, Team Spirit too, currently in 2nd page, and we're talking about how they're going to end up hindering some of the other teams that are towards the top. It's just mind-blowing to me. It kind of goes down with what we've been saying. It's just you don't know what's going to happen here on the final day.
It's the new generation.
Teams like that need to move mountains. And speaking of mountains, we had the mountain here actually as the face of the Arctic Conqueror Guild set, as he was here yesterday, lifting up 7 and throwing him across the hall. It was fantastic to see. I just wish he threw you down the stairs. That would have been even funnier. Over in game right now, and there's also a weightlifting challenge currently happening here still at the Excel Arena for you guys to participate in. He had his own weightlifting challenge, but it wasn't much. It was like lifting a feather. Actually, we should have asked him. Was it like lifting a feather when he picked you up?
I was scared.
Yeah.
I was scared. I was like,
it was actually hilarious. If you didn't see it, go back and watch it from yesterday. Not to mention, I think you have a video for it that you might upload on the 7WG over on Instagram. As well as a big shout out to Kidia. The entire district is designed to make you feel like you're in a real life game, and every detail about it is about play and of course entertainment as well. And speaking of play and entertainment, the best way for us to play is to keep our hands warm. There could be UT2s, Gamer Pros with its 5,000 milliamp battery and 4 different adjustable heating levels. These things are amazing. I'm surprised we haven't seen these before because they keep your hands nice and warm.
they're actually really good.
Or while you're
really
really
awesome.
I can use them while I'm knocked and I've been eliminated, waiting for you to revive me.
Yeah, from the Ice Dragon Lair.
It's pretty calming.
It's just waiting over there. It's a bit chilly in the mode.
It is a bit chilly.
And I want to say it's good fidget toy. I'm playing around with it when I'm watching the games. It's magnetized. It's great.
Well, so there's a topic I want us to discuss here really quickly that we did talk about while watching the last match. And I think it'd be really cool to actually talk to some of the teams about this. When you go to the last day of an event, there are teams out there on the leaderboard that can play drastically different. And the question for me is to you two is, how hard do you think it is for these top teams, and how do they go into final days like this knowing that teams are going to play quite different, considering they have nothing to lose because they have no chance of getting first place?
I can definitely tell you that just from being in league stage in Malaysia, talking with a lot of the players, they were saying that they do expect a lot of teams, especially once you get that halfway mark done of the final day, they're going to end up playing differently. If you're one of those teams towards the bottom, they got absolutely nothing to lose. Yes, there is still a prize pool on the line, but for the most part, they're going to be trying to go for those highlight plays, add it to your reel, right? And right now, I mean, if you're like the Vicious, if you're trying to stop one of those top teams, which I honestly, I know I keep bringing them up, but it's because I've seen what they have been able to do already so far in this PMGC in league stage. They were taking the fight to Bigatron, usually when other teams are scared to take fights to any of the big teams.
Yeah, I mean, right now pressure's a big also factor to keep in mind for the top team, right? You have the top teams at the bottom that are maybe going to become a bit more of a threat, but the top team is about dealing with that pressure. And I talked with Defi earlier, and you can even see it here on the camera, that he's just trying to get his team as relaxed as they humanly can be, and thanks to that, you can put off clutches like Razor just did versus Alpha 7. The mindset is so important at this level of play, because if you don't take it off properly, you might just crumble under that pressure.
Going into the first Erangel, one team that I have to look at, I called them out yesterday. I want to see a bit of an improvement. I don't want to wait until the last Erangel. It's going to be none other than D plus Kia. I mentioned how they were able to improve on their Erangels, but it came down into the last one. That cannot happen this time. This time they need to improve right from the get-go.
All right, well, it is going to be our first of 3 Erangels of the day, of the final day here at PMGC 2024. Let's throw it back to our commentators to drop us on in. We don't want to wait any longer. John Blink, take it away.
Absolutely not. We're not going to wait one moment more. The plane is setting off over the grassy pastures. We've got 3 of them left here at the 2024 PMGC. So let's get things kicked off for it. Southside plane path from Sosnovka military base up towards Stalba. It's going to be plenty fine, plenty of vehicle drops available. Shouldn't see too many hot drops, although we've seen stranger things happen so far.
You wouldn't want to see hot drops, but there might be. There might just be. Sosnovka, we're dropping in, start things off. 4MV getting out nice and early. Falcons also dropping fairly over towards Novorevnoye here. We got Void Donkeys heading out over towards Primorsk. Spirit over towards Farm. Interesting match, that last one. Obviously, Void Donkey ID with one of the most unbelievable rotations that we've seen so far in PMGC 2024. Again, I'm pretty sure the reason they didn't get taken out is because everyone assumed that they were going to stop somewhere, and they just didn't. Went straight through to Campon. Very well timed rotate as well, just as stage 4 hit, so they knew exactly where to go. It was fortunate that Campon was still in, but they took control of that very handedly.
I think if 4MB had not lost a player on their rotate there as well, that may have been a little bit more difficult to make that Void Donkey dash and make it all the way through. If they'd had 4 players, they may have been a little bit more confident in their hold, ready for peaking, that sort of thing, willing to go for a little bit more of a trade, but was not to be the case. Unfortunately, DRX saw to that. Circle for our first entry on Erangel today. Heads out towards the gap fields, keeps a little bit of George Paul in. So far, I haven't seen any hot drops, but I'm still waiting to see if that could change. I think everyone has managed to divide themselves and grab what they need to get on the road.
Yeah, most people are okay with this. And again, hot drop's not likely now, considering the circle moves up towards that western side. Most teams do need to get a move on, move into some better positions. Starting on that eastern side means there's going to be a massive amount of roadblocks going in on that eastern edge of the circle. So you'll see teams trying to rotate over towards shooting range, potentially into North George. Alpha 7 don't really have too much chance of making that happen. That is their original drop spot. They do head over towards Lipovka here, and they're one of the furthest teams out towards the east. It's slightly more difficult, though. That last game, they were able to get a few more points on board, set themselves up towards 51. They're still not out of unlucky number 13, though, and they have remained there for quite a while. Hello.
DRX just get the lay of the land, overseeing what they would like to be their domain. We had two teams push over the 100-point barrier in that last match blank, with Influence Rage in second place 101, schooling the rest of the lobby on the game, and RCB 105. They were pretty close to the mark, and we'll see plenty more teams make that jump in these next few matches, not least of which is possible for DRX to do so. They are in 5th place with 92 points, slow to descend, actually into their looting time a little bit, but they are already slap bang in the middle of the circle, so they can afford to go for something like this. I wonder if Enigma Galaxy are hunting them down though, because right now we've got Ralph, we've got Redox from Enigma Galaxy who are basically underneath those drop spots from DRX.
Yeah, they're after them. They are absolutely after them, and they will find Yumbit actually. That is so unfortunate, catching him out in the open. Great spot from whoever was on that team, but Enigma Galaxy was able to see them up in the air and keeping their wits about them, because a lot of times people just don't look up in this game.
I mean, you expect people to be getting down towards those vehicles, target fast drops, but DRX try and go for a long glide. It doesn't pay out here, although 3 of them did manage to make landfall. You do have these scenarios, and I think Ruff is still on the hunt. They know that they're going to be underlooted, so if you've got a couple of a bit of armor on board, if you've got a nade, a weapon or two, you can go for these pursuits for maybe the next 30 seconds until that team will have acquired a similar level of loot, and you will have an advantage in those engagements. I think at this point, Enigma Galaxy need to figure out where they're going to go into the circle, stop that pursuit. They have sort of burned down that clock, but they've got a point out of it, and they've taken a player away from a team that is central on the circle. That is going to give them a lot more freedom.
Yeah, DRX sends away from Ganka, and there's no point going there anymore. Like you say, they have info. So I think likely where DRX would have played is on a split over towards the compounds on the north and Ganka, and then trying to maintain control over towards that position. Now that Enigma Galaxy knows they're there and they're 3, that's a natural rotation path for Enigma Galaxy into the future. So for DRX, they have to send north here. Unfortunate, they won't have as strong of a position, but stage 2 could still cut them in. As 3 players, it is not over yet. But 92 points and so close to so many teams towards that top side. Losing those players now is difficult. In comes Team Spirit though, over towards Enigma Galaxy.
I mean, it is just Ralph in here though, and a nade from Nomi immediately dispatches this compound from their control. Enigma Galaxy just don't have that outpost anymore. They started off the game well. They didn't regroup in time to combat the teams pushing in from that east side with an east plane path, a west circle. Some teams are going to move fast. Enigma Galaxy were not prepared for it.
No, again, I think you have to immediately regroup after that initial knockout flush, so it somewhat doesn't pay out for them. Again, this is PMGC. Teams are going to rotate quickly. Teams will know the deal. Falcons, inside of their hovercraft, locate 1 player from the Talk Gaming. We'll be chasing him down. There's not much you can do about this. This is just Predator versus Prey at the moment. Falcons will have Icy divert, though, as King has to get back to the castle here.
Turn back towards the rest of the team, and they do very quickly move up to support. King does have the backup now from the boys on the east side, moving out from Pachinki, trying to move across these hills, this open field. Falcons make this crossing first, and Falcons, they have had that fall off, right? Those splits got punished. They've looked maybe a little bit more disciplined over the last few games, but even so, their time is fading. Their opportunity window is closing. The teams at the bottom of the table, the sands are running dry.
Yeah, there is a parallel to be had between the Falcons and Alpha 7, just 1 point away from one another. And it used to be that 1 point differential would be the difference between 3rd and 2nd place. Now it is between 12th and 13th, which is an irony that is not lost on us here. But I think with Falcons and Alpha 7, there needs to be a reset going into next year. I think both these teams, their difficulty comes in the fact that at the moment is the inconsistency, because they can be one of the best teams, if not the best team, inside of this lobby on certain maps and on certain days. But at the moment, these 3 days have just not gone well for them. But there are no slouches either. I mean, where they currently are at 52 and 51 points, that's respectable here at PMGC. Though catching up to RCB at 105, Influence Rage at 101 seems to be an impossible task.
It is such a monumental task, you're right. It's a challenge for a championship caliber team, but we'll see if anyone is up to it, if they've got the chops. Top of Everest now, occupied occupied by TJB. Influence Rage out to the west side currently of this situation, over at George Paul, closer over the hospital. They could potentially look to transition up through Everest, or probably more likely around the south edge of it. Alpha 7, they're going to be crossing from over on the north side, and there is a little bit more of a potential for them, I think, to push up towards the top of Everest and contest with TJB. But it all depends on where this next circle is going to fall. If it goes down to the southeast, Everest power severely reduced, but that northwest shift, you get a lot more safety up there.
You need a position pretty much at this point in time. I mean, most teams have moved up towards that western side, so for TJB, they were lacking on spots, but that northwest shift does come through, and TJB will be extremely pleased with this. Now they need to be aware that teams will be looking to assault Everest right now, and one of those teams is Alpha 7. As they already move over towards that eastern side, TJB need to be well on alert here.
Alpha 7, I mean, they are assaulting the top of Everest, but they're potentially going to get cut off by the Vicious, by RCB, all moving up north. 2 players have made it up, sure, but TJB have 4 players in place already. Influence Rage stopping that backline from rotating around, and the 2 players at the top of Everest for Alpha 7 divert. They know they can't regroup safely, so they move into the crates of South George. RCB are instead the ones to go up the mountain. They're chalked up and ready to clamber on through. Team Spirit looking to join the fray, moving around on the north side.
I think when you look at Alpha 7's rotate as well, it's pretty typical for them. I do like it. They try and take a stronger position over towards crates. Sometimes they move over towards apartments. I think right now this was just an easier rotational path for them. They were quick to get into position, and they find one player from Influence Rage. 2 Brazilian teams going toe-to-toe versus one another at the early stages of the game on our first Arangol. Triple S will find one player over towards Team Spirit as they attempted to move up Everest. Finding Matic there as well. 2 down for Team Spirit.
Nasty stuff on the slopes of Everest here, affecting Kitsune. They're not going to be able to get up towards Nomi here. He is isolated. He is almost fully cooked here. TJB looked to burn them away. Team Spirit, they tried to slide through on the north side of Everest, and I'm not entirely sure what they were looking to achieve. I think they were hoping to find a third party onto the engagement at the top of Everest, but it's just not worked out. Team Spirit's time is coming to an end.
Pulling out the vehicle at that distance as well is fairly incredible. I won't lie, it was a very nice shot coming through from TJB, and they are controlling the top of Everest, which is what you absolutely need to do. A few teams do it properly. TJB at the moment keeping the aggression on. I think that's the difficulty with Everest. A lot of teams will just let teams roam up on them. Here TJB is taking more of a proactive position on it and already finding success. RCB though waiting in the wings, in the shadows. TJB might have not shined a light on that bit just yet.
RCB moved up to the east side of Everest fairly early on, but they've left 2 players down, so they're not fully committing. They are just playing this 2-2 split right now on the east side of Everest. It's not fully guaranteed, remember, to end this circle on the south side of the river, so having those east side rotates available is potentially a big boon to them, but it's fairly unlikely that those will need to be sent on in. In the meantime, over on the west side, Thundertalk are caught by Navi. The southwest edge, just those fields to the south of Hospital. The shift goes northeast side, and it is right into RCB's wheelhouse. They need to be a strong roadblock now for teams trying to move around that south.
For RCB, territory they control, they can craft one hell of a story from this side of the map. It's going to be good for them, and I think that even there's potential of moving over towards that eastern side a little bit more, but holding these ruins and that compound down towards that southeast side is good. They need to take care of Enigma Galaxy though. They are 1 player down, so this is a 4v3. Those split.
Enigma Galaxy making the dash up towards the Wizard Tower that sits to the south of that bridge. A decent chunk of control for them there, or rather, probably more likely, a little bit of safety, but maybe not so much as Navarro has to make the dart in towards the shack. The Vicious playing on the buildings there in their way, but they've now secured themselves. The Vicious will not go for the rollout. I'm looking at D+ Kia right now and thinking about where they could opt to go for. They may just opt to stop in ruins and hold that southeast side, but it's likely they're going to try and open up a future path, and that's what Fabian is looking to do right now, Black. scouting up north.
Yeah, holding the trenches here for D+, not a bad idea for them. I don't really want to fully commit over towards Ruin just yet, but Cameroon will happily take up Castle as that high ground scouting spot. This is good from D+. This is likely a play that ensures their stage 3 success. RCB unwilling to move, considering that central position they have. Silas, though, doing Silas things. Playing on his own over towards Everest. It's a dangerous spot to play, but a necessary position for that forward information for the rest of the team. Be almost a claymore here. It prevents teams from moving forward onto RCB, but the amount of teams over on this western side, you really are looking at the moment over towards Enigma Galaxy, D+, RCB, and TJB. Strong chances into the end game.
Oh, 4MV, they're getting lit up right now by TJB and Alpha 7. Alpha 7 from the south side of the crates, the top of Everest still under control. The Falcons are getting rolled down by Na'Vi in the meantime on the south edge. 4MV just trying to hide behind their McLaren. Get between the tyres and see if you can stay safe for just a moment longer.
Not much else that 4MV can do here. Again, the spots are limited right now. 4MV tries to take one of the few positions open to them. It is further off to the east, and again, a lot of teams will be going down shortly on this western side. Von Donkey, the first to fall prey to that as they move over towards DRX.
We've seen what they can do with 3 before, though. Razak takes down Soaz from DRX. Will fall down entirely. Slowly slipping. Circle. Shunts in towards the north side of Everest, away from the crates. That west side is going to get messy.
I mean, for the Vicious, they just get handed one hell of a game here. It's a really nice position. The same can be said for Enigma Galaxy. Practically the majority of the south side of the map is just cut out by Everest. Likely a lot of teams will be under the bridge here. Squads over towards our southwest side will be paying that toll.
It's a really difficult choice to make because of where the previous circle sat. It did encircle the foothills of Everest, which means that you can't go for a wide wrap around the south edge of Everest without dipping into the blue. And at stage 4, that's dangerous when you know you're going to be crashing straight into another team. Coming out of that blue zone, you will already be damaged. So because of these last 2 circles, it finds itself a little bit sticky on that western edge. TJB, they've been holding the top of Everest for a while now, but Na'Vi are looking to change that here. Flip, moving on up, trying to find a challenge, find an opening. Triple S, the player to hold, but he's moving back towards the rest of his team. They know they don't need to hold this part of the mountain with the circle moving on through. Na'Vi going to step into the sightlines of 676, but is not going to fully connect the spray.
RCB, this is a great moment for them to strike. If they can do it now, they will control the entirety of the top side of Everest. If they can make the move, Bloxy, as well as Wild, yet to move just yet. 676 opens up the bidding over towards Na'Vi, but Tong Jiubao simply take a knock in the back line over towards Triple S.
Another nade and another 2. Will pour it over the top. Longs is trying to face, but 676 on the low ground. Swings wide. Gets 6. 2 players now from Na'Vi knocked. Puncher and Flip left in the fight. The regroups come through. Bexy from Point Donkey ID may try to third party this from the low ground as well. But the nade from the back lines for Na'Vi to try and keep them safe. They're not quite connecting for TJB in the meantime. And Lemon's feeding that info back over. 676 again dips the nade, but Puncher falls. And it's just Flip remaining. TJB have got the res. They're 4 against 1. And over the top they go. 676 with the S12K. Into the DBS he goes. The challenge is good. TJB keep hold of the top of Everest.
6 going down first, and it truly is a case. The 786 there on the top of the mountain. TJB extremely pleased with themselves. 676 leading the charge in that location. RCB though enjoyed their passive approaches. They actually spotted Incilio moving past, so to go for that third party likely would have boxed them in, but for TJB to make a hold like that, wonderful news for them. Na'Vi have to walk away feeling somewhat disheartened by that push. TJB very successful on the hold there. Yeah, for the Vicious, this is such a good game for them to get a whole bunch of points, or at least just sit around and basically win the game out from that spot. That's the circle. Hard shifts down towards the south here. 4 and V hanging on by a thread. And on towards the north side of Everest. Difficult location to play. I think that will actually be another player dropping for them.
Reefus did get flushed away there. I think that was taken by Insilio or RCB, or was Vexi, did get the knock for Point Donkey ID either way. So it's just Doc left remaining. TJB, they've got 10 eliminations on this match blank, but they have a move to make now. Off of the top of Everest, they've got points from this game. How much more value can they get? Because they do need every single point they can get their hands on. This may be the spot to do it. The nades over towards Insilio from RCB. Trying to get Wild back to his feet in the meantime as well. A null boost there to try and make that harder on this eastern side. Team Plus Kia have been working this east edge for a long time. Fabian moving up, that scout towards the north, and forcing teams to play over towards Everest. Team Plus Kia really have a lot of control on this east edge.
Frustrating to play against, to say the least, for RCB. It's some good grenades, but Zillow just immediately hops inside the hovercraft, and RCB cannot take the time to send the massive sprays in over towards the hovercraft here. Luckily, D+, looking to put the paint in. They've already exploded one of the hovercraft, but this is providing them a huge amount of cover, and RCB is struggling to make their way through. There is an initial shot there from D+. Now TJB looks to manage the scenario.
That is 4MD eliminated by TJB's move up. They spot the snake in the grass in the foothills of Everest, and now Flower close to the fight with Silas, the veteran, the champ. In years gone by, looking to keep hold of that top spot in the meantime. TJB will be the ones to try and take their opportunity away from this match to find those points to solidify. Flower, nade over the top. Rocks Silas as well. Now with another in hand, looks to find Wild towards the back lines. Goes a little bit long, but the damage is there as well. 676 up on that high ground. A front-to-back fight, purely blank. As Flower launches more and more ordnance in. Loxley has an answer. Sada moves up.
It's a great nade coming through from Loxley. Immediately backs it off. The team tells Silas they're not done with him yet. Sara opening up beautifully on the front line, keeping Silas alive in a dire moment.
Sara, a sliver of HP, but he wants more. 676 get the heel off and he falls back. He knows the timings. RCB want the res. Sara down to a nade. Two players from TJB now looking to keep this one going against RCB. And Loxley needs to keep himself together here. 2v2, the shotgun in hand. The switch to the M4. No, he wants the S12K, but it's not going to matter. Confusion, disruption, and TJB keep things going. 14 elims.
TJB on Everest, on top of the world, with a high elimination count game. Like Sherpas, dragging their players back down the hill, but it's already been such a phenomenal performance from them. TJB not happy to let the PEL region go down without a fight.
Triple S can't carry it, but he can carry you. Moving on in, 6 elims, trying to move down the hillside though, but he gets spotted. This may be where they run dry, but they've already got those elims under the belt flank. It is a good result for them, nonetheless. They'll be up in towards that 80-point bracket, or close to it, even so. 676, the next to fall. The Vicious looking to take those shots. Now it's just Longs remains. 15 points, what a match for them.
It's a massive game for TJB. D+, lovely opener on the nade. We'll have to back off just a little bit. Vincilio, got one play here. Just let the couple back towards them. Longs, shot through.
61 points on the tables, reverse that. 16 on the elims this match. The 1-6 posted now. 7 teams remain. Longs is spotted and Carrillo wants the challenge. Low HP both, but it's Pedozzi from the Vicious to take them out of that situation. Now 6 teams remain. Like the placement points with TJB are going to start to add up too.
Yeah, they are racking up in a big way. Longs, time might be running out though, as he has to make a run out into open ground, and Cilio will be watching this location, and D+ is nowhere to be found. They already send over towards that northeast side. For the Vicious, they're already in a strong position. They've been in a strong position all game. Those matches, if you pick up that compound, it's almost a freebie.
finally taken down. TJB with a magnificent game under their belt from the top of Everest, holding it down. We don't see it too often, Blank, but they made it work so well. RCB played on that east side and held things at bay for them there, and in the end went down to them as well.
For RCB, it wasn't a terrible match. I think they made a lot of smart moves. Unfortunately, TJB was just on a tear on that top side of Everest. There really wasn't much they could do about it. Sara did his absolute best to keep Silas up. Respected the effort. Fabian finding Guild here. They're on that coastal side. D Plus has played a pretty fantastic game. Some awesome rotates, a quick wrap around past RCB into a strong position. The nades are now flying.
Over towards Guild, this coastline is important. A lot of lateral movement available, angles can be opened up, but you need it under your control, and D Plus here not allowing Guild to take that. Nolbu hopping in through the smoke. 1v1 training against Nomi, not enough, and maybe it's flashing in before his eyes as well, but still with the pump action, only Nolbu has fallen to it. Guild want the reses. Nade in hand, Nick the Galaxy trying to chime in too.
Tank's just not quite there. A little bit of damage. Start moving forward. Good air burst from Gil, but quick step back and a jump will keep Osal alive. Another air burst. It looks good. It will be another knock over towards Guild, and D Plus is holding their own.
And at the last possible moment, Snowex is looking to try and third party this angle, move in behind, force them up and into the rock. That will allow the rest of Nick the Galaxy to launch nades over the side, knowing that there is higher density of targets in this area. You can see Narvalo moves in, Redox as well. They are forcing them all to play together to go for it.
No
Western
way.
holding on, 2 and 3. McLaren after McLaren falls to the shotgun. A Westron with a magnificent stand-up for Incilio.
What was that? Westron does just send them spinning. They have no idea where that compass is pointing at this point, because they have just been spun out into McLaren. Incredible moves. The Vicious off a free game. They go home empty-handed. They forget to pick up on the deal.
How on earth do you find that? Westron, he's into the circle and he's in the tower. Timinor wants revenge, but denied that opportunity. Nick the Galaxy in such an important position here on the tables, Blank. This is their chance to push up, but Incilio as well are behind them and looking to try and open up that conversation too. This flex out from Nick the Galaxy, I liked it, but it's completely blown out the water by Westron.
Nick the Galaxy push round, like I said, it's a fantastic push from them. They cut out D+. They weren't expecting it. It's a great push out, unlike the one we just saw, unfortunately. Of an 8 will take down EXO. Aza, the laser, in that front line.
Magnificent backline nade, spot the player in the smoke, and Nick the Galaxy rack up 10 elims now, Blank. They've got 3 players alive against 2 solos. This should be a chicken dinner and a chance for them to give RCB a run for their money from the EMEA region. It looks like we've got 2 horses in the race.
Now Nick the Galaxy have to finish off 2 teams. Call it that, but it's 2 solos. The Vicious, after a very, very brutal push over towards Incilio, suddenly feeling very silly themselves. Just 1 player remaining. Nick the Galaxy look to stamp their mark on this game.
From the riverside, next circle hasn't popped yet. If it pushes south, there is a chance that things could go pear-shaped for them. There is an opportunity for a 1v3. We know Westron can do it. Diminor, though, has complete oversight onto Westron's position. The circle does push just away from Westron's build. Sorry, not from Diminor's building. I recenter myself over onto this circle. The Vicious may have to leave.
Diminor is likely going to have to push right to the edge of this compound. Westron, on the other hand, I do not think he can stay. We're heading into stage 9. This will just close in, but into open ground for Nick the Galaxy, a terrifying prospect, but both Vicious and Incilio will have to leave first. Nick the Galaxy do have this slight slope to work with to attempt to pick up a chicken dinner here in our second match of the day. A team vying for a first place.
And the circle starts to close into stage 8. 5 players remain. Rocks in the open field, the only cover beyond the roadside ridgeline. Redox moving out wide, trying to play every angle available to him before the blue zone consumes it. Knows his pace. Westron can't step out. I think that they know that. They have so much freedom here to spread wide and establish a baseline of fire to allow themselves to push forwards. Navallo finally pushed off the rock. And this is discipline from Enigma Galaxy.
Yeah, good setup. Be aware of a lot of angles, but what they are doing at the moment is opening themselves up to 1v1s. There is potential of reses on their sides and trades, but it does become a little dangerous from 2 teams, 2 pretty dastardly positions. But Enigma Galaxy will not be forced out from this spot just yet.
Neither will Westron. I mean, he's moved on to the inside, right? And he's going to have to hop out the window. That's dangerous. Diminor drops down into the sidelines of Snowix, and that's an easy pickup. No 1v1 to be spotted. They know Westron's in the tower. Redox can move across the road. Hop out if you dare, but I don't think he's even going to get that far. And it is 12 elims for Enigma Galaxy. Celebration deserved. A nice wraparound to the Riverside earns them 10 placements and plenty more besides.
You can hear the audience. Enigma Galaxy able to propel themselves forward in the leaderboards and get them one step closer to taking home that trophy. And you sure as hell know every single player on that team, they're gonna be crying tears of happiness if that can happen. We still have 4 matches left to go before we can get there. But gentlemen, let's break down Enigma Galaxy in this last match. And I mean, Max and 7, you two were talking about this. The perfect play punishing D+.
I'll start early on with Enigma Galaxy, especially because this team was able to rotate from the south of Everest. They made an insane rotation, some actual courage it took, because some teams actually had an advantage. They could have taken RCB, especially they could have been moving up to fours. They decided not to. With Enigma Galaxy, they pushed up to the Wizard Tower, and they waited for something that you were able to mention to me, Max.
Yeah, because D plus Kia were actually doing a really good play this game, which is sending Fabian over to the Cube compound north of the river to get Angon Guild, and they fully send it over there. That was a game-winning rotation that was coming through from D plus Kia. I'm all over the place, but Enigma Galaxy see that rotation coming on through, and like, we're just gonna backstab D plus Kia, and off the back of that create the perfect entry point to not only eliminate D plus Kia, one of our main competition for this win, but also then Guild and take their entire position. Enigma Galaxy saw good play happening, like, that's my play now, and it cost the game away from all of those other teams.
And another team we've been talking about, especially when it comes down to Aaron Gill, especially when it comes down to Hovercrabs, none other than Ezilio. Westron, I mean, Westron, the performance that he was able to put up against the Vicious, being able to absolutely smash 3 of their players, and on top of that, securing themselves a top 3 situation by being able to go towards the Wizard Tower, where Enigma Galaxy was at earlier. You can see the stats right there. This is what you want to see. By the way, Raouf, even though he did get eliminated earlier on, still 1 ill.
Yeah, and calling the shots, right? Still calling the shots on the team, even when he does get eliminated, and you know that was definitely a good play on D plus Kia and also Guild Esport, especially they had a bunch of smoke, so even if it did go south, I still think it was going to be an Enigma Galaxy win, no matter what happened. But yeah, we have to go a little bit further back in the format, right? Because Vicious, also, I would say 7, were a contender for that win, until, I don't know why, they send it on to Westron, and Westron's like, oh, 3 eliminations, thank you very much. And
More of that, please.
Way more of that, and he got more of that too.
That's the thing with the Vicious, right? Sometimes they are too overly aggressive. Sometimes they aren't really fully thinking. It seems like they aren't really fully thinking throughout in regards to that game plan. If they would have stayed where they were at, they would have still had all the 4 players, and they would have been sitting pretty, at least for sure, a top 2, possibly a win with the angles that they would have been able to gather. But I think they were just trying to do a little bit too much.
You saw the rooftop of Kinanov, right? If you have 4 players peeking from that rooftop, how the hell do you survive as Enigma Galaxy, right? And Guild, you can easily get third party too if you have cards to make that transition. So they just saw red in that one solo player of Restaurant and just sent it in. And unfortunately, well, we saw what happened. Though, as we have some of the replays happening, Everest was just a key part of this game here. 7, you had Navi, you had TJB, you had Exilio, you had Regnum Cario Brat, even Alpha 7. So much was happening.
the way TJB was able to control Everest, I mean, we saw whenever Navi decided to push up on them, they were able to stop him. One
player basically stopped him. 676, man.
Yeah, 676 fully sent it by himself. Max, though, one thing that we were thinking about, especially when the fight between TJB and none other than Navi was happening right here, we were hoping that RCB would end up crashing onto them, but
you two had really opposing views on how that actually
really
right?
with this one.
So Max was saying that maybe we should see. With Max saying RCB should push into TJB.
Yes.
And Navi.
And Navi, and third party that fight to take control of Everest completely. But Seven, you were talking about there were a lot of other teams like Incilio, I think it was D Plus as well, could have third party that push and turn it into a rainbow there.
And this was even before INS ended up leapfrogging RCB. I think that RCB, with the 2-2 split that they had, they were a little bit worried. They didn't want to end up getting caught off guard. I am with you that I feel like they should have maybe regrouped faster. That's one thing that they definitely should have done. We agree on that. But I don't think they would have been able to just fully go for that third party just because of some of the other teams that were there. They were really scared that they were going to end up giving third party.
Yeah, we do agree then on the regrouping then from that 2-2 split. I think if they did regroup on the mountain, they could have kept some players on the ridge, closing up a little bit closer to then TJB and Navi, keeping players on the back foot to make sure they don't get backstabbed. If they do that, I think that could have been a way better finish for Regan Choreograph.
22 points for Enigma Galaxy and TJB, 16 eliminations, getting themselves 18 points. You know, this is a team who could move up the leaderboards and continue this pace, and technically there is a chance we could see TJB get themselves into first place if they continue to play like this.
Actually, TJB had a really good ending yesterday, right? They got a chicken dinner on the penultimate game of yesterday over on Miramar. Yeah, what a complicated word. Actually able to get himself then 2 chicken dinners in pretty much 4 matches today, looking really solid. But at the bottom of the rankings, one team that had a bit of a rough rotation here, it has to be Falcons. Well, gets a goose egg.
We did want to touch on this really quick about Falcons because they did fully drop in a no-go, if I'm not mistaken, Seven.
Yeah, they did. And the thing that you were able to mention to me as well, Max, is that they finally stopped doing that weird 2-2 split that we have seen for the longest time. I mean, too, also towards Milton, we saw Incilio and we saw Navi playing at all. I think they were trying to wait to see what Falcons was going to be doing, but that doesn't matter because we have a new team in first place, and it's truly none other than Enigma Galaxy with those 113 points. It is so close, man.
Gentlemen, if I talked to you before PMGC started, I was like, who's the better team from the split that happened between Enigma Galaxy and Twisted Minds? I feel like you all would have said Twisted Minds.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But to see
in hindsight, we can't go back.
On a realistic notice here for Enigma Galaxy, I mentioned it. The full season for me is definitely one of the better seasons we've ever witnessed from Enigma Galaxy roster. For like the past 2 years and a half, it feels like. This team, the iGelling, is similar, but this team is just enabled so well with Rauf leading the charge forward with his iGelling pulls, and Narvalo and Snoix just set up these plays so beautifully, even Redox.
What's so crazy is those 3 players you just mentioned, they've never really been on a top team that has dominated a region or dominated really in the events. But for some reason, this culmination of players with Maruf at the helm is allowing them to potentially take home this PMGC trophy.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have the fragging power of this roster that play on D plus Kian Guild, here's 7, it does not work out. But here, it makes so many of these plays possible in the first place.
We saw the stats. We saw every single player being able to have 3 or 4 more eliminations, except for Rauf, obviously, that ended up getting eliminated earlier on. But this is what we're talking about. This is the meta that we have moved onto when it comes to PUBG Mobile esports. We saw it last year with IHC, and we're starting to see it this year. Now it comes down to that fragging power. It cannot be just one player, cannot be 2. You need everybody in your squad to be able to frag.
I mean, I think it's a culmination of not obviously being able to just frag out, but if Rauf doesn't make that call to play that rich side to backstep D+, they never would have had this win.
The timing was on point. It's not just the call was good. The timing at which they do it is when D plus K was technically at their weakest, when they're fully committed in their fight between themselves and Guild, and that's when you strike, and that is such a good play. And even have Pekko that he was doing magic tricks to us yesterday, 7, and he's also doing magic tricks in the leaderboards, going up to first place.
Amazing magic tricks, by the way. Shout out to Pekko. On the second page here, we have already gone by 2 matches. This is the mark that I was thinking, okay, you know what, this is when I start cutting out some of the teams. Guild, obviously, not going to be able to make it. TT as well, not going to be able to make it. Falcons, Alpha 7, it's just too far, Max.
Yeah, even, I know I was saying the 98 point there is possible, I know, okay, at this stage, I am starting to say it's not quite possible anymore.
I still think the greatest thing to me is to see a lot of these top dogs, like Alpha 7, like your Falcons, like 4B, not be able to take this trophy right now. We're going to have a newcomer for sure win this 100%.
It clearly is just the new era of PUBG Mobile Esport, right? You had China in the past, then you had SCA, but like now it's not only just any region can win, any team can win, and it's just new players, new teams that are rising to the top and now competing for this trophy.
That's the main one. New teams. Like if you would have told me that within the top 5, we would have actually had Influence Rage, and Alpha 7 would have been in the second page. From the Americas region, I would be like, no, you're crazy.
It actually gets me hyped up for PMSL America.
I can't
I'm like,
wait.
what's going to happen over there? In
Can't wait to see
2025?
how, even though they're not here at Team Liquid, how they're going to be reacting towards 2025. We'll get a chance to talk about that towards the end of the show. But right now, let's focus more on what's currently happening, because going into this next match in Cilio, they need to continue on having this great performances when it comes down to Aaron Cup.
Yeah,
See the nade coming in, we hide in the hovercraft, the nade stop, we get out and we start spraying D+ here and Rengan Karabra. Really, they not only just pick it up because, oh, it's a strong item, it's a strong vehicle to have in your games, they perfected the use of it to just play hide and seek with grenades.
We've been seeing more teams using it too as well. We saw Falcons now. I don't think I've ever seen Falcons use it before.
The best part about this is I can do this. No, I'm kidding. But go ahead, Seven.
No, but I was saying, we're starting to see a lot more teams now starting to adjust to what Incilio is currently doing, right? In regards to the hovercrafts. Now we're starting to see Team Falcons also being able to carry them along the way, driving, seeking them out, and that's something that we just really haven't seen before until we started pointing out, especially what Incilio, especially with you, Max. You were pointing out what Incilio is currently doing with those hovercrafts.
I mean, the hovercraft is just like you create a little mini compound for yourself, and if you can have 2, maybe 3 in these positions, that technically that did. It's not great.
It was 2?
They made it great. Thanks to the hovercrafts, right? So it's definitely something that I think teams that, if you drop in the middle of the map, right, it's not going to be something you can use for yourself. But if you're a team that drops on the coast, maybe you should spend an extra minute, a minute and a half to actually scout out those items, because if you have a field finish, guess what? Like in Cilio, you can survive way longer than you normally would in that scenario.
And maybe we should kind of explain beyond the fact that it's basically a tank on air. Why it's so important, and we talked to Duffy, and we're talking about the speed of it as well. It makes it so hard to deal with because you can't, I mean, you could spray it down.
Yeah.
The problem is if you waste your whole clip trying to spray it down, they can get out and shoot you. So it's very difficult for teams to deal with, but credit to Incilio to see this and make it work for them. And you guys at home, hopefully you're seeing this on your screens. We have the Arctic Conqueror guild set available with your man, the legend, the mountain himself, Halford Bjornsson, who got to pick up 7 Rules Gaming. That was definitely a hard gym day for him. And throw him across the room. And make sure you guys check this out at the moment, and not to mention check out the weightlifting challenge that's currently happening here in the Excel Arena. And hopefully you guys at home can rise to the challenge. Because you said 7. Mountain and I are about the same height, but he's like 3 of me. And it's all muscle.
You might be the same height, but no. It was a completely different thing. I felt even smaller, and then he picked me up, and I felt like what my kids feel when I pick them up.
I want to see what an Infinix GT20 Pro looked like in his hand, because that thing would have looked tiny. He's got, you said he has massive hands, but you know what? The processing power of the Infinix GT20 Pro is nothing he could crush in his hand, or use his thumbs to bowl out to people's eyes as well. Max is trying.
It would have been like this. This is what it would have been like. One of his hands.
He plays with one hand punching.
His fist alone was like just the size of my hand.
But you guys can check it out. It's 120 FPS and dual chipset and 144 Hz AMOLED screen. And on top of that, not to mention, if we're talking about things that look small in his hand, man, these like Huma UT2 Gamer Pro hand warmers with a 5,000 milliamp battery and 4 different adjustable heating levels. These things, I think he would have needed like 6 of them. 6 of them. Keep his hands warm. Maybe use these right before lifting some heavy weights yet again.
I agree. I think that would have just.
We should have had him. We should have had him come on the desk and just be like right behind us, towering over us.
I'd be like, please pick me up again.
You have to change the camera shot.
Yeah,
like make me taller than
he wouldn't need a box if that was actually to happen. But
we're to build a hole.
I wouldn't need a bigger box.
Well, let's talk about what's coming up here, right? We did have it finished over towards Everest. We had a lot of military finishes so far. We haven't really had too many northern finishes on Erangel in the grand finals. And I'm thinking towards, Severny, and I'm thinking towards how our team's going to adjust, like, for instance, your 4MVs, your Falcons to be able to get there. Even your Incilios, though, I think they're probably just going to take some hovercrafts in there.
They're just going
to love that if we have a Northern Circle, which is going to be TJB. We saw how they were abusing those positions, especially north of Rozov during the league stage. If we get a Northern Circle, TJB with how they've been playing today, right? That could be a really big step up for them to climb maybe a top 5 position. So the Northern Circle would be great for them, but yeah, as you said, we haven't had that many. Yeah, it's rare.
Well, it's nice because we don't have so many quarry finishes like we had during the league stage.
I'm probably like,
every single day it was like group yellow. We had a quarry finish. It felt like.
Yeah, just every time we had quarry. Vampire loved it to bits, but unfortunately they can't enjoy it if it happens.
They loved it when they could. do the job. Anyways, one team that's currently not being able to do the job is 4MB. Once again, they struggle being able to get towards the center of the circle, keeping all 4 players alive. I saw Doc being able to lead that rotation, and ultimately, he ended up being the last player alive, to my surprise. I'm hoping that this team, we're talking about where circles want circles to go. First day, remember, we ended up having 2 military circles. If for some reason we end up getting a military circle here, I think one team that's definitely looking to take advantage of it is going to be 4MB, and they definitely do that.
The thing is, we talked about when they had their massive game on day 1, that they did this exact same thing in league stage, and they did nothing after that. We're seeing something kind of similar happen yet again. If you take away those 30-odd points, they would be nowhere on that front page.
I do agree, though. I do think that 4MP is still doing some good macro plays. We talked about the splits earlier in the pre-show, right? I think that their standout game was really solid, but unfortunately what happened is that other teams are also doing really solid plays. Voin, right, wrapping around them to try and stop their gatekeeping from happening in the first place. So it's not like they're playing bad, it's just the lobby's playing at such a high level that a good play, a lot of the time, is just not going to be enough to go the entire way for that win.
I feel like they're just being a little bit too overconfident at times with those 2-2 splits. They've been able to adjust with what Doc has been able to do in regards to playing a little bit closer to his team, but right now those 2-2 splits are just not working out the way they want them to work out.
Well, you know what? Luckily for them, they're going to have a little bit of time to think some things over, hopefully work on their splits as well. We're going to head to a short break. Keep your anticipation high, because when we come back, we're diving right back in some more Pokey Bogey action. champion of 2024 PMGC. Welcome back, Max and 7WG, the 7WG, saying so hi in Miley on his box. We're going to start to break down what's coming up here. And Max, I know you want to talk about Alpha 7, especially in that last match.
Yeah, Alpha 7 I think had two really good approaches in these first two games, right? They had a really good Sanok. I think unfortunately Razor happened once again, that was not so good. But here actually they understood the weakness of crates in George Bowl, which crates is a great position to go early on if the circle ends up going crates or even on the apartment side or the southern side of George Bowl. It's a really good spot. And when you have to leave, that's really troublesome. And Alpha 7 understood that very early on. They had a spear, I think they had Revo in crates, and they had to play to the east in the compound. They just sent the entire team over there the moment they saw the circle pop, and thanks to that, I think they were going forward versus Thundertalk Gaming and even another team in crates. So sure, they don't get the win, but I think Alpha 7 is still pulling some way better rotates than what we saw at the start of these finals.
And I think this is what we were talking about with Alpha 7 specifically for today. They just have nothing to lose. They know that to be able to reach first place would pretty much end up taking up a miracle for this team. So they're going to be going back to what we're known for, right? Smart rotations and also those eliminations, the aggressiveness. And look at Exilio, 44 eliminations, over 10,000 damage.
This is out of 7 matches.
How much of that is them coming out of a hologram?
Imagine if we could get a stat for Exilio specifically, how much time spent in the hovercraft in comparison to all of the other teams. It wouldn't even be close.
Because they have multiple hovercrafts, it's like just multiplied so quickly. So like, yeah, it's a good item.
I'm not gonna knock them, right? Because if you're working the best team in the world, you gotta be willing to adapt to new metas and to new changes, and they are the first team we've seen to adopt it.
You can't even knock them if you wanted to. Then the hovercraft.
That's true.
They're just gonna keep
I mean, we talked about the first teams using the DBS when that came around, changing. That was, I think, D+, if I'm not mistaken, way back in the day. And now we're seeing Sule do the same. I wonder if we're gonna see more and more teams adapt to this. But obviously, that's Erangel only.
The thing is that if they find themselves in a situation like we were able to find in that previous match, and those hovercrafts do end up getting destroyed, you've mentioned it before, Max, it becomes pretty much a compound.
Just a force. Yeah. Built on the go. And it's very strong.
Very strong indeed. And speaking of strong, we're going to head back to our commentators as we drop it in to our second Erangel of the day with John Allen and Blake.
Feeling strong like Hathor, we are heading in to Erangel, a south plain path for us for our second lap around the grassy pastures from Novo over to the west coast. South leading, maybe some vehicle kerfuffles in the next few minutes. Blank, we've seen that happen on plane paths like this.
It's a seriously difficult plane path. It's one we actually saw yesterday. I think it's pretty much the exact same plane path we saw then. It was not easy to work around, and teams will have to figure out their rotations going forward. Interesting to see where this next circle actually heads off to. If it'll be a cruel one, heavy up towards that north side, causing teams some panic here inside the lobby. For the time being, Falcons out nice and early, and Silly up towards Milta, who are absolutely unbelievably protected by those hovercraft half the time. Having two in the back pocket going into many of these locations where, as Max said, it's almost impossible to play some of these spots, but it's made so because they can always just hop inside there and pretty much moving compound.
It's so useful, and as they were saying over on the desk, it's the first team to really adapt to that as part of their core fundamental gameplay. Fantastic stuff coming through to see that one work out for them. I'm looking at the rest of the map. I'm seeing potentially D+ Kier could be vulnerable to a team spirit, but D+ Kier going a little bit further. Are we going to see that low and lazy parachute from DRX that got capitalized on by Nick Galaxy last match? Potentially some danger with them and the Vicious, but again, teams are being very cautious around these vehicles, and it feels like you can see these nerves mounting as we get in towards the final matches here for the grand finals.
Almost halfway done at this point, John. DRX do get out the plane path without too much trouble, but down towards 6th place now. Our leaders, our two EMEA teams, Enigma Galaxy and RCB, who Influence Rage not far behind, honestly, only 2 points.
Every single team has been trying to figure out how to approach this final day. They've all been trying to put their best foot forwards. And at the moment, Enigma Galaxy, they are at the top of the pack. We caught up with them to find out just how they're coping with the pressure.
Welcome to Championship Sunday. Now, we are already in the mix here in the XL Arena, so we thought that we would just hop on here to give you a quick recap and get you up to speed if you're only just joining us. After day one, 4MV led the charge with a truly impressive 23 elimination chicken dinner. It really was something, wasn't it, Sandstorm?
It was quite a performance from them on day one, but day number 2 saw Regnum Carrier fly to the top of the table with 2 chicken dinners, and managing to get a bit of a distance between them and second place. But Influence Rage, they were the talk of the town. They managed to get a chicken dinner, 2 top 2s, and now, beginning of day 3, again, starting with a chicken dinner. They're coming for that number 1 spot, Barney.
Yes, they are. I mean, going from 14th place at the beginning of day 2 and all the way up to second place right now. So keep your eyes peeled, and we'll see you later on Championship Sunday.
Thank you very much, Barney and Sandstorm. The lay of the land there set out for you. Make sure that you are up to date. You can see those scores on the tables on the right-hand side of your screen. In the midst of all of that, Team Spirit lost 2 players, Blake.
Yeah, they were hurt. They were hurting once again. I think Team Spirit, the spirit is broken at this point in time. That's 178 points in 10th place. It would realistically take 1 game to get up towards that top side, but I don't really think Nick Galaxy or RCB are going to be changing all that much. D Plus are able to find 2 of those eliminations over towards Team Spirit. You're talking about this earlier. Potentially D Plus being in trouble. No, it's completely the way around.
Absolutely. That is far from ideal, let's put it that way, for Team Spirit, and taking a lot of damage, not getting that loot fast. Circle, fairly chill right now. It's a nice central circle, so no massive moves. And after the plane path they had, the teams will be happy about this. Galaxy in Pachinki are slap bang in the middle of this circle. They can potentially move back up to that church position, try and play some of the positions out to the hills to the west side of Pachinki. They've got the pick of the litter when it comes to these central locations.
You know, for Enigma Galaxy, it has just been from good to better inside of this lobby. Even over the PMGC, like Max was saying, we were all enjoying the hit TV series of the fall season of Enigma Galaxy and their improvement. It has been very good. There's been some plot twists here and there, and now Enigma Galaxy suddenly at the zenith of their story at the moment, in first place, 113 points. It's a good run from them. They have been working very hard this year to make sure that their team is ready, because when we first saw them, it seemed disjointed. Slowly over time, they've worked on that. All these players now play hand in hand wonderfully. The boys talk about Twisted Minds, and I think that, you know, you look at Twisted Minds from EMEA, and they are somewhat of a reflection of Enigma Galaxy. In the sense, you take some very strong players, you put them together, and you hope it goes well. You invest resources into that, you invest time, you invest coaching. I think Twisted Minds just needed more time. But Enigma Galaxy, they already had that moment of success where it all started to click. Now they're up against 4MV.
And 4MV, a team looking to chase them on the tables. Apex tries to draw first blood, but in turn is rebuffed. SnowX with a Molotov, slowing things down, hops out the building. On the low ground floor here, the res is coming through, but Apex is being chunked away in the meantime. They haven't managed to get it back up. Reaper steps out the back, and Novalla's being handled by Doc on the back lines. 4MV looking to try and turn this one around. But unfortunately, there's another knock, and SnowX just wades straight on into the fight. Sees it going pear-shaped, thinks, no, I think we want the top of the tables to ourselves, thank you very much. But Doc clips him on the rear tyre, swings through on the buggy, and Stoics on the top floor can't do anything about it. They'll hop in, and Doc's on the warpath. Around the edge, Ralph has the corner. Doc goes low, but the hop out doesn't find it. Redog's down, but Enigma Galaxy keep it under control. Influence Rage, though, want to change that.
Influence Rage in the wings here. Look to soar on down towards Enigma Galaxy's position. Now Vallo unable to get their boy back up again. Crazy play there though, coming through. Dog. Speed at which he rocked up towards that location. Ralph barely had time to get out of the vehicle before his leg got twisted at the hand of Dog.
Hitting him with a stanky leg on that approach, but the Galaxy take one of the top 5 out of the race for this match. Influence Rage didn't have time to third party seemingly. Oh, hang on a minute, they might still yet have an opportunity until the Galaxy can get those reses on board, get that healing done.
But he sits up straight. Enigma Galaxy technically now can just play on with 3 players with 4 eliminations perfectly possible from a central position. Well, hell of an extraction off to Narvalo, I won't lie. It's good to see though. They do value the player. I mean, Narvalo in the past used to be one of the best players in Europe. He has slightly fallen down that ladder. There was moments where we worried for him. But I'm hopeful for the future of this team now.
I think that there were times where he just seemed so disjointed from his team, but this is Enigma Galaxy revitalized and cohesive. It's a fantastic sight to see. We'll top the tables for now, but we'll have to see if they can hold on to it. Thunder Talk now defending. Top of Potato Hill, east side. 4 players for Thunder Talk. They've already found a knock over towards Icy. The Falcons continue on their fall from grace, but East try and chime back in towards AJ. They will find that knock. Wait, looks for the trade, and action is taken down. Potential third party coming in from Incilio across the way as well. This, for both of these 2 teams, is going to be made so much harder. We saw what Westron could do on his own in the last match blank, and we'll see if they can extract more value from this situation.
He's a crazy player on Incilio. He's had so much success. Donning the flag as a cloak here. He attempts to hit them with the dagger on that northern side. 3TN from Incilio with the hovercraft. What else, really, end of the day? I will say for Westron that last game with the Vicious, technically Vicious made the right play. Absolutely. They should have 100% pushed it. But you get 3 shots in a row, dead on target, of moving targets. You just have to take the L on that one, realistically.
Sometimes it's just something special that you're able to bring out, and that's what Westron found. In the meantime, we're going to hop over towards Sunken. DRX are taking on the remaining duo from Team Spirit. A knocker towards Hyunbin slows them down. They are not fully grouped up right now. Oh, no, wait. No, that's RCB across the river with a 2-2 split from Roshok and the Bridge Compound. DRX playing as 3 in this location. Got an outpost, but trying to regroup and play a little bit closer together. So as moves back on in, and they slow their approach. They don't want to go for this fight against Team Spirit.
For RCB, it's a good chance for them to start the game here. I mean, Vicious do hold that north side of Rozhok, the hilltops, but RCB have way more space to play around with. It is a somewhat dangerous split, but again, it is what they're trying to do most of these games is keep their split just close enough so regroups are possible, but the amount of information they'll be able to pick up from the back of this is phenomenal. Na'Vi scouting the top side, but Incilio rocking through in the hovercraft. You cannot slow them down. They just roll on past, and what are you meant to do? All you can do is really watch. There's not much counterplay to it.
Bring your own hovercraft.
Yeah, but still not counterplay. Now you're just rotating together.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's such a difficult force to be reckoned with. The Na'Vi are going to push them off, however, but I think that's more Incilio's choice than Na'Vi's, because this circle, okay, the next pop as well, goes over to the river, the central island there found. Na'Vi can't quite catch Incilio as their tail turns, but they'll have to mount up and get on the path behind them. However, pushing in towards the center of this circle, there's a lot of open ground blank.
Yeah, very reminiscent of the way Mirren Sejong played actually for RCB here. Immediately regrouping on top of Sara. It's a good spot to play as well. A lot of sight lines and a lot of capability to hold teams out. They'll even have an outpost that sits down towards the bankside. This is good for RCB on this circle. And I imagine it will center up around there anyway. Enigma Galaxy heading down over towards Foyne Donkey, who have just managed to grab themselves a position on the sidelines of Sunken. DRX, I hope they brought their scuba dive gear because they're going to have to sit around here for quite some time in the water.
I'll tell you what, Team Spirit with their 2-0 have had some decent shifts on this one. May be able to pull a couple of points out of this game, but I'm still not holding my breath. Point Donkey ID spotted on the cross in towards Sunken Zeta, clipped, but Vexy will get the res here. DRX want to isolate this, surround it. You can see Kaisei now moving up into the high ground off angle. Nick Galaxy have made their entry, with all three of their players now safely in that southwest side. Slap bang center in Sunken City.
Yeah, a lot of teams want to get involved, and this can hold a fair few squads at the end of the day. No one really wants to make too much noise here. A couple of shots going through, but that's about it. Na'Vi attempting to move over towards Incilio. Already there's a good start, a good chunk of damage. 6 is down, and Na'Vi stuck inside this building. Another lovely nade. Bounces down the stairs. There is a response, but is it enough?
Another nade for Westron. He's on a rampage again. Potential to find Flip here, but a nade goes a little bit awry. Does tag him for the damage. The Molotov to push him off the door frame, but he goes down the stairs. Brilliant rotate for Westron to pick up that Molotov, play in the terrain. Low HP again, dips back, but Redlick can take up the mantle. D plus Kier moving around in the distance could make this a little bit messy, but another nade bobbles over to the backlines, and Lemon is going to get pushed away from this. Puncher flushed away, and the points start to rack up for Incilio.
Westron today has been playing like a man possessed. It has been insane what we've been watching from him. Nade after nade into a Molotov so perfectly placed, and now Lemon's getting squeezed.
Ooh, there's still a little bit more juice left in it, hopefully. Redlick underarms the nade on the lower balcony, the drop down, but just in time, secures the door frame. The hop over, and he steps in. It's all chaos. The step out from Lemon, and a 1-2 swivel. We thought Westron had it all, but no. Lemon turns their situation sour.
A bitter denial to Incilio. Lemon turns it up to 11. At his 11th hour. Insane plays. I mean, we know Lemon's a strong player, and I just do not think Incilio were expecting that. Now that's going to hurt their points this game, as they were onto a very strong position down towards the southeast side in terms of holding and getting a little bit too over-aggressive, potentially overconfident, getting in the way there for them. Still 5 eliminations on the game. It's not terrible, but it won't see you up into the triple digits just yet.
That is so unfortunate. They should have been 3 in this position, but just that little clumsy step in, step out. Lemon with the pump action, with a miraculous pull. I mean, to be fair, it swings and roundabouts from the last match where Westron did the same to the Vicious, right? And with Incilio going down, you're right, that point scoring potential severely denied there. They're up to 98 points blank, so they are still within striking distances. Lemon does finally get taken down, and that is Na'Vi out of this match. Influence Rage the ones to do so, but it's so close at the top that just being able to get that 1 extra point, move closer towards these next circles, could have been all it took for Incilio to be up towards the top 3.
Good long range shots so far from Horizon. We've been watching from Influence Rage. They're currently holding down towards that south side. They have a lot of space that they've conquered already. D plus trying to go for something similar, holding 2-2 split. Over towards that eastern side. 2 players on the south of Roadwork, but RTB still in a strong position, and there's no contenders in their area. Same cannot be said for some good now. That place is close to the brim.
There is plenty of players looking to try and make their way on in there. Alpha 7 have managed to make the first strike towards the positions under the bridge. Guild looking to defend it, but with McGrellan out of action, Rebel has to step into the breach and will do so with gusto. GG, not GG, flushed under the bridge there. Aza, the laser, trying to get across as well, but I think Alpha 7 have a number.
He's in a tough spot. I think Rebel knows his location as well. Alpha 7 playing out on the water towards that middle island. Good shots again, creating a splash in the water, and will find the knock. Now it's just about cleaning up. Alpha 7 will take 2 on the game and find themselves on a lonely island over towards this northwest side, but they can certainly play this one out here, John.
It's very isolated, you're right, in this situation. You can see the other side of the island was held by the other side of the 2-2 split from Guild, but RCB had angles on it. They took one of those players on that south edge away. These rocks are anything but secure. To be fair to Guild, they couldn't really play it as much as they would have liked because of Alpha 7's crossing, but even so, getting up to that ridge line keeps you safe for a moment, but not much longer.
Donkey, not a bad spot, but we'll see where this next circle goes, because if it heads over towards that west side, both Enigma Galaxy as well as Void Donkey ID will be pretty happy with their position. It will be DRX forced to push them, but nope, up towards RCB. And it looks like they're heading over towards our Turkish squad to reclaim their top spot.
Seeing a rotate out from Team Spirit as well towards that shack on the roadside. Trying to hunker down there. And to be fair, I think they've got legs on that position. Like, they've got a little bit of runway to play with. Because of all the teams who have grouped themselves up in Sunken, moving out of that is going to be really tough. With RCB and now with Team Spirit on the outside looking their way, I think the Galaxy on the south point moving away is going to be difficult. The good news for them for now is that they don't have to just yet.
Sits pretty for the time being, heading into stage 6. The cool thing here for RCB is that practically that southwest side will just handle itself. With Drake though, Origin will handle one on the D+. Good response though, more damage pouring on through, coming through from all south. We'll just send away, still has 4 players here on D+, 1 player down though, and more shots coming through, but TJB enters the mix.
Trying to roll over from the sidelines here, the west edge. Enigma Galaxy are flexing out for it as well, but Influence Rage are suffering the most right now. D+ Kia have 2 knocks, they're grouped up, the blue zone pushes, they can't go back out to get these 2 players back up. D+ Kia almost certainly playing on with 2, and Flower wants to take these points for TJB. 5 elims found now. And the south edge rotate has gone well. Enigma Galaxy, they are really keen for this third party blank. Narvalo is still a little bit on the chase here, but not quite able to get past the finish line. Osal finds Triple S rolling up. Chips is there as well. A crossfire established, but it's not going to matter. Longs has this back, and Triple S can keep on rolling. Over towards Osal, D+ Kia fall.
Second Erangel in a row where TJB stands it up here. Looking mighty strong, nade through over towards Thunder Talk, and they do find themselves hit by a lightning strike sent by Falcons.
Swooping down, taking those points away. Only the 2 points on this match, and only the 2 players as well though. And in 14th place, I think their time is up, even with a miracle run here. They are over 50 points behind on the standings, and teams are starting to get counted out at this stage. Teams like Na'Vi, like Thunder Talk, Falcons and Guild, it's so tough to make that run from the bottom of the tables.
With 3rd down to 6th outs on this game, though there is a chance for those teams underneath. As you can see on the leaderboards, we've still got 7 through 12th in the game. So DRX, MG Bao, Void Donkey ID, potentially Team Spirit. This might be a good moment to regain some of that lost ground. But past 8, Alpha 7 finding Vicious though, raises down. And again, I was going to talk about this earlier, but it's so difficult for Falcons, Vicious to move through that ground on that north side. So open to a lot of squads. RCB gets a miracle shift. They might be on the edge of this one, but it completely cuts out Sunken. And that is the big marker of this circle.
Be a hefty price to pay to exit Sunken here. Enigma Galaxy on the south side, getting 5 elims now actually. They got 4 on their earlier scrap. They posted up another, losing a player, but now they're on the south edge. With TJB just a little bit ahead of them, it looks like Narvalo is calling the team to regroup. Ralph agrees, and they all move in concert now to the east side, and actually potentially clashing with TJB on the east side as Alpha 7 try and cross. It's Wagner to shut them down very, very quickly. Alpha 7 get dispatched. Point Donkey ID won a couple of those points, but TJB now have Enigma Galaxy bearing down upon them, and they will not be able to weather the storm. Enigma Galaxy can get Narvalo back up, and and play on from there. 7 elims found, and RCB see them stretching out to the distance ahead of them.
RTB, they've got a strong spot, but only 2 elims off the back of this. But Enigma Galaxy, they've been making it work. They exited early, they controlled that south side, and there is more space to play. It's likely that a lot of these teams over towards that western side are going to struggle making their way out from Sunken. Banana Pin drop down just 2. DRX, Void Donkey ID must face off against one another. Though, Enigma Galaxy taking a knock here, potentially there's a chance for DRX to send out. But even so, in the heat of the moment, Narvalo clapping back over towards them.
Finding QXE with a headshot out to the west side. Falcons on the east, on the edges of Roshok. The peripheral hills, a modicum of cover able to be supplied to them by it. And a spray down from Kaisei, but they're just not quite finding these full flushes. Void Donkey ID, they've appeared a lot in the elimination feed. Only 3 times have they been able to rack up points for it, but they have been knocked repeatedly blank. This team has been through the wars. They are looking to keep that record going. Potato just about staying alive as they try and fend off DRX from Sunken City on their route out. Enigma Galaxy making that break up north as well.
RCB was been so happy with this position, but Enigma Galaxy is not playing around here. Bursting out into this match from the dark void of the Galaxy. Now looking to take teams with them.
DRX on the push, Potato goes down. With the drop shots there, Vexy on the floor. Brings DRX with him. And now it's just one player on the backline. Soa steps into the smoke, but the straight not strong enough. And Void Donkey ID will be able to survive, but for how much longer? Because they're eating lead from Enigma Galaxy across the way. Razor, Vexy trying to survive as RCB starting to get a little bit antsy now.
RCB, no, they need more points in this game. Enigma Galaxy, it looked like RCB on this match might have been able to regain a position towards that top side, but no, with Enigma Galaxy absolutely dominating during this match, stealing away eliminations at the same time. Vexy goes down to Narvalo, hitting their tally up to 10. Enigma Galaxy will not be stopped.
Up to 11. Enigma Galaxy with 3 players on the match after their first team fight. Making waves here. 2 games on the trot. They are muscling their way to the top of the tables. RCB, you're right. They've only got 2 eliminations from here. They haven't had to make this work. Team Spirit alive as well, by the way, still with their duo. And is it finally the end for Enigma Galaxy? A wide rotate, and this feels chaotic, Black. Not too sure about the effectiveness of this maneuver on average, but Narvalo, the only one to survive it. And he's not even in the zone.
Gets out. Enigma Galaxy down to 1 now, but 11 points on the game, a top 5. This has been a brilliant result from them. Plays this match solar systematic. But this looks like it will be their final ride on the southeast side.
Still though, a 5th place with 11 elims. Blank, that's pretty bloody good, I think it's safe to say. They'll be very happy with that one. Narvalo still just eking out whatever he can, but it is going to be there, done and dusted for Enigma Galaxy. A massive tally for RCB to chase now as they look for the rollout. Silas is rebuffed. The Vicious trying to keep this one together, but in they go with the send out wide. RCB leaves Silas behind, but pick up the position on the north edge. The Falcons are falling to it, and Team Spirit is still here as well, by the way, in their building, in their little shack, with 2 players. It's not fully out of the question.
Actually, the fact that Team Spirit is still in this one is pretty phenomenal. Now they make the send out, they're looking to take on the Falcons. Shots from the side of the vehicle, it's looking like a drive-by.
Over the top, Nate cooking, healing on east as well, works out. Can RCB find anything? The first knock goes the way of a Team Spirit on the duo rollout. Top around the side, looking to try and get anything done. And 1 he's good for. Shotgun, 2 rounds left. Finds the first, looks for the second, and he's out of ammo, he's out of life. It's RCB to flex out, looking for that first place chicken dinner, but it's all up to effect.
Flex has to double back. I said it was a drive-by, more like a drive-through over towards Falcons. and the unshakable spirit is here in process. Effect looks for another. The damage is good over towards Sarah, but the nade might just do the trick, and RCB will take themselves a chicken dinner. But with the points that Nick McGalaxy got this match, it might not be enough.
Nick McGalaxy might have pulled off the limbs, but at least Regnan Karyabra closing out the chicken dinner. We'll check out the overalls to see where it currently stands here between these two top teams. But for now, we have to break down their victory and break down how they pulled this one off. In Max's Emeralds Gaming, Regnan Karyabra sitting in that lovely compound for the longest of times until it was their moment to strike.
Yeah, they just held onto their resources for pretty much the entire game here, Seven, and just, okay, now it seems like the action's starting to pick up a little bit, especially around Sunken City, or Atlantis, or Water City. There's a lot of names.
Watertown.
Watertown, that one works. I like that one. But you said Atlantis earlier. But there was so much action happening in that city, and RCB, we're going to let that fight unfold naturally, and once all the teams are weakened, there's just going to be a few stragglers remaining. That's when we push, clear the southern western side, and then we have free range Vicious, then Falcons, then Team Spirit, do whatever we truly want in this finishing moment.
Silas being able to get those 4 eliminations, something that we do need to highlight as you were able to talk about RCB. I mean, you mentioned it too, Jason, they really didn't have to rotate. They were just sitting down for a very long time. For this team, I feel like we're gonna move to Nick McGalaxy because wow, what a performance that we just had at Nick McGalaxy. The way that they were able to just make their decision. I gotta go back even a little bit further. Whenever they were really close to Watertown, they decided, you know what, we're not gonna go through that mayhem. We don't want to end up fighting with Void. We don't want to end up fighting with DRX. They decided to back off, and something that I really enjoyed that Nick McGalaxy was able to do, as we're looking at the stats here from RCB, was Narvalo. They send them just a little bit further away from him to be able to scout on TJB. Once you realize where TJB was at, then the whole team was able to send it there, and it was an easy fight for them.
Yeah, Narvalo was such a proactive scout, and not only scout, but also a very important part actually of these pushes onto TJB. And then they pushed TJB into, I think it was Influence Rage, and also then the side of Deep Oskia. Pushed them all the way, then they go back to the city in a pretty relatively safe position. But later on down the line, right, TJB had this mountaintop southwest of Rozhok, which is a good little scouting ground to go for. And Nemo Galaxy, we talked about the fight happening in Sunken City, Water City, Atlantis.
Watertown.
Okay, Watertown. They're trying to avoid that as much as possible. And just, we already saw that TJB escaped southeast of the circle. We're going to go back there again. Narvalo, a very important scout in the process of that push. Get the position under control, and then actually are able to get access to the late game. Though the circle had different plans in mind after that.
Yeah. I think the most important thing to note in this game, though, is that if Regnan Karya did not win this match, they would have fallen so far behind Nick Galaxy because of the limbs that they were able to put up here. So this keeps that trophy in contention here between these two teams. And I mean, honestly, another thing to talk about today, we've had so many amazing individual standout moments. And this one was Lemon, the 1v2 up against Cecilio. I don't know how he pulls it off with a pump shotty as well. I mean, they're just creating a highlight reel for himself.
No speechless. We were not expecting it. We're like, there's no way he's
no way
to do this.
Like, no way.
He did this.
Wait. That's what happens when you're on a hovercraft and you're dealing with...
Right here.
The movement also around the doors, like just hugging the wall the entire way.
We got a chance to see some amazing movement yesterday from the Solo Master Tournament. Yeah. Now we're starting to see here.
Like, do it in Solo Master Tournament. We're going to try and bring that over to PMGC, which is a good play. Though I know we're not talking too much about Alpha 7, but as we have the replay here, good little push. They saw the guild were actually playing under the bridge in that dip, which is a good defensive position. But if you send it really quickly, you can actually leapfrog that position and actually have a really good spot to then fight kill. So sure, it doesn't result with too much, but Alpha 7 still, I think, doing some decent moves in the mid game.
Another team we're going to have to talk about here. It was a little bit of a three-way fight. It was D+ trying to punish Influence Rage, but they did successfully. But TJB, I mean, you talked about it when we were watching the games, Max. Like, since the penultimate game yesterday, our first match on Miramar, TJB have been cranking things up, and with still 3 matches left to go today, I still feel like there is a chance for them to completely shoot up these leaderboards and potentially challenge out for first.
I feel like in the first, I don't know, maybe 8, 9, 10 matches, they were pretty much in the scenario. They were taking still a few early game fights, but they weren't fully ready. Now they're ready for anything.
Well, it's the true day 1 for.
Oh, day 3?
Day 3 is the.
Oh, okay, that's right.
It's the true day 2.
It really feels like they're ready for anything, and they're not scared to take fights, because again, we get to the point where teams and players are getting desperate. That said, onto the side of Influence Rage and Deep Sky, I think was just pivotal for them to reach the late game. So I don't know what happened internally for them, but I think the mindset is definitely on point for TJB.
And for TJB, if they wouldn't have had just such a struggle in the first match with Sandhog, when they ended up going against the Vicious, they ended up getting eliminated early. We could have had 3 matches out of this team. Great consistent matches, but that's not the case right now. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the overall is looking, because we have seen Nick the Galaxy now being able to put up some good performances back to back, especially. And like you were mentioning too, Jason, RCB being able to win this one narrows that gap. It doesn't let Nick the Galaxy just keep creating an even bigger point gap.
Yeah, you see here, RCB able to get themselves 4 more points than Nick the Galaxy. We'll check with how close things are between our first and second place team momentarily, but Falcons 10 points. We got to see some great things out of them as well, only performing 2 players towards the very end, losing out in that last 1v1 up against Team Spirit. But, you know, Falcons, if they could have started off the event putting up numbers like this, we could have been talking about them as being the team to take the trophy back to Mongolia.
They did. They started off hot. Whenever we started off the first day with the Sandhawk, we're like, okay, maybe we're getting the Falcons from Last Chance. Final day? No, that was not the case.
It was one match. It was just like 4-V. It was one match.
Yeah.
Speaking of 4-V, 1 point. I mean, this is 4-V. We keep talking, you know, negatively about them, but they're still relatively high up in the leaderboards. When we went into this match, they were only 17, 18 points behind first place. I mean, if they just had some good games here, they easily could be the team that we're talking about.
They're still heavily relevant in this conversation, but we're just not seeing those big pop-off games, right? We need another of those 20 elimination games, but here we go, the leaderboard. Top 3 does not move currently, but yeah, it is so damn close. And I do think that we have the prospect here that's being set up for the end of today, where it might just be down to that final game to decide who's going to be lifting that trophy here, Sam.
I know 3 games ago I was saying anybody from first stage can definitely end up taking that championship. So far, with what I'm seeing out of Boy Donkey, great performance here in this last match. I think I'm going to start counting them out a little bit. DRX as well, and Cilio as well, just because we're going into that last Erangel and we don't really know what's going to happen in regards to this team when we do end up going to Miramar.
I mean, for Cilio, Erangel was their best map. And their Erangels today have not been amazing. Obviously, we did have Westron get to the very late stages of our first Erangel, but here we see them going out to basically Navi. If we're thinking about if they want to have a chance to push up the leaderboards, their final Erangel has to be good, and then they need to do something on Miramar they've yet to be able to do, is have 2 good Miramars in a row.
Yeah, it's definitely possible for them to get themselves a Miramar. But I'm going to be looking at one team in particular on the second page that, again, competing for the first place is a little bit out of the question, but at least ranking high is definitely something that could happen, is the Vicious. And looking back at this, I don't know how you feel, Seven. I generally feel, because they were playing the northern side of Rogov on the warehouse, if they third party Thundertalk and Falcons fight, I generally think they could have won this game, and they could have ranked up on the first page. That would have been such a good fight for them to take. They play a bit more passive, and maybe they'll start to play a little bit more scared than they usually do, which is weird to say about the Vicious, but that was a big fight they could have taken, and they just did not even think about it.
Super weird to say about the
I know, right?
Especially when we're going to be going into the final 3 matches. Maybe they're now starting to think about the price. They're like, okay, you know what? Maybe we don't want to be too risky, or do we? With this team, you're really not going to end up knowing. You could end up being. They could have ended up making the decision that you said. Third partying that fight between Falcons and TT. That was not the case with them. Who knows what they're going to be able to do in the last 3 matches. The big question mark for me, though, for the last 3 matches is going to be end up coming down to how these teams are going to end up finishing up that last Erangel. One team that comes to mind is going to be Nick Galaxy. They need to continue to have a great performance here. Yes, they were able to do great Miramars yesterday, but I'm not sure. I'm not sold on that yet.
I mean, especially after you have Regnum Carbide get a chicken dinner like this, right? Again, it's going to be close in terms of contention for the first place, so it's going to be down to the wire.
I mean, these same teams are just continuing the pace from yesterday. Influence Rage had a great day, giving Galaxy, Regnum Caria, and they're having a great day yet again here. And consistency in these kind of lobbies at the highest level of PUBG Mobile, and the most competitive lobby we've ever had in PUBG Mobile, is so damn difficult to pull off here. And you look at some other teams like, you know, the Vicious, maybe Boy and Donkey as well, having some players, well, for Vicious, all players who have been in PMGC before, the lack of inexperience can really come back to bite you. But then now we've passed the halfway point of our final day, you have to wonder, are teams going to start playing a little bit differently now, especially if you're down towards the bottom of the leaderboard, and if you're towards the top, do you maybe depend on sitting back and going for like some second drop locations to play it safe? No?
No. I know you can hear the shake on my head on the mic. But yeah, if you're one of those top teams, don't end up changing your playing style that much. Especially for RCB, like you wouldn't have wanted to extra challenge teams in Watertown for no reason, just because you wanted some extra points. They played that out so perfect.
We know if there is one person who can tell us about potentially changing things up, it's going to be Pekko, the coach, coming in for Nick Galaxy, over with Banks on the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the main stage where I am joined by the coach of Nigma Galaxy. It is Pekko. Pekko, 2 points in it right now. You're on 127 points. You've got close second at 125. How are you feeling?
Actually feeling confident. We're trying to do our best, obviously. We need some luck just so we can be so fun. And then we just we're really confident.
It's like a sprinkling of luck you need, isn't it? Because you guys are super confident. Speaking of confidence, you know, yesterday you were hanging out with the casters and the analysts in the lobby. You were doing magic as well. They all kind of reflected on it and said, he seems really relaxed. Like, you would think that going into Championship Sunday, everyone's a bit nervous, but you seem really calm. Do you feel like you're really calm and like you trust your players, I imagine?
Yeah, of course. Everyone is really confident. The org gave us a lot of trust, which is what pushed us to do this good. This is all I'm saying. Yeah, we're really chill, to be honest. We expect this. We expect it to fight for top 1, and we'll see how it's going to go for the last three games.
And we know that, you know, Championship Sunday is always packed with the fans. You guys have an awesome fan base as well that are chanting for you as you go. But also on day 3, right now, we only have 3 maps remaining, 2 of them on Miramar. How do you like your chances closing out the day on Miramar? Do you feel like you can clinch it?
Yeah, of course. We can do good. We can actually, as I told you, beat some points. It just depends on the decisions in game, obviously the luck. And we'll see how it goes.
Is Miramar a particularly strong map for you guys, or is it just, are they all strong maps?
No, it's actually the least strong map for us, but doesn't mean we're not going to do good. We're still confident.
I mean, like you said, a sprinkling of luck, but also you trust them. They know what they're doing. They've got a really strong team. You're in the lead right now. Let's see if you can close it out. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Enigma Galaxy. And we've also got Echo here. Nice one. Thanks so much. But now, we're going to head back to the decks to continue Championship Sunday.
Alright.
Saying he's chill, I think, is an understatement. Last night, we were playing some Ice Meyer Frontier, and he was pulling one of us away at a time to do some magic card tricks. I think it's more than chill. I think he's feeling pretty confident they're going to take this.
They were good magic.
They were really good. I do a little bit of magic sometimes, and it was like, I have no idea how we did this.
Yeah.
I was so confused.
I was like a 5-year-old. Mind blown.
Well, you kind of are like a 5-year-old sometimes. But you know what? Speaking of 5, what about 4MB? They had a rough time here against Enigma Galaxy in this last match.
Yeah, and this one, I mean, it kind of goes with what we've been talking about too, Max, in regards to how they have changed separate things throughout this whole tournament. Especially it comes down to Doc. Doc, that wasn't the initiator for that fight. He was actually the one holding back. And on top of that, whenever the team was pretty much eliminated, then Doc finally decided to push. It was the last hurrah out of that team. We're talking about teams changing up how they play. I feel like 4MB right now is a bit uncertain on figuring out how they actually want to play. Do they want to play aggressive? Do they want to be passive? Because during that engagement in the last match, I wasn't quite sure what they were wanting to do. It's not like everybody fully committed to it.
I mean, we saw there was definitely a lot of changes happening during the league stage, right?
Yeah.
Happening for them. They were playing center, then edge, and I think that now nothing's really working too heavily for them. So then that question of, then what do we do? Because our 2 main playstyles are just not consistent as much as we would have expected in these finals.
I think what they need to do is take their Akuba UT to Gamer Pros to ensure optimal performance here in these matches. Keep those hands warm and ready to go, because they need to have a couple of good games. I mean, just imagine there is a world where they could potentially pull off another 30-plus point game, and we could see them in first place. But they got to get their hand warmers out.
Do we want that?
Do we want to see? You know, honestly, I would love to see 4MB win, because Max and I have been covering them all year long. We talked about at PMWC, this team is the team to beat. And of course, because Max predicted them, they ended up not having a great time here. But you guys at home should be having a great time, because we also do have the official PMGC skins released for you. The Midnight Raven and Enigma set. You can use the code 24 PMGC to get 50 UC off with 10 draws in the lucky spin. And hopefully you do that maybe in between the breaks. But hopefully you don't want to do it during the matches, because the non-stop action is going to continue to come here.
I've done mine already, so yeah.
I've been doing mine.
You've been doing yours?
Yeah.
You getting
any better luck?
Max, is there a world where we can get you to cosplay as the Enigma set?
You know what?
Right or left?
Yes. I won't be able to tailor it myself, but I'll do it.
Okay. Well, I know you do have somebody who could potentially help you out with that. Any prosthetics you might need on top of that. But you guys at home, what about some other teams we should be talking about here? Obviously, the race is very heavily towards the top.
I have DRX.
Yeah, Raven, quiet.
They've done nothing today, realistically. I'm sorry to say, but I was really hyped up for DRX, especially how they played yesterday. We had so many good rotates and really strong finishes, and I highlighted Human that would be a great story, but as of right now, it's just a nosedive for them, because at the top, we've got Enigma Galaxy, got Regnum Karabrak, they're not sharing any points, and we can see every good spot, I feel like, upon phase 2, phase 3, every good position's taken. That means late rotates, which DRX sometimes do, are just not going to work as they once used to in the league stage or at the start of this grand finals.
For me, it's going to be Influence Rage. I'm kind of looking at this team with how they're going to finish it along the lines of what I was saying in regards to Incilio, how Influence Rage is going to finish this last Erangel going into Miramar.
we know that some of the top dogs, D+, I mean, the consistency that we have seen at D+, especially in Miramar's, it's outstanding. I don't think they're going to end up slowing down. I think they're actually going to end up shining, and this is why I have them being really close to be able to challenge for that championship. And it comes down to some of the other teams. What are they going to be able to do? If Enigma Galaxy continues on this trajectory that they're on right now, we've been saying it, the other teams have to make sure they respond. If not, that point gap is just going to get bigger and bigger.
Max, I can see you do have TJB and Boy Donkey on your teams to focus. Why is that?
I mean, Boy Donkey in particular, I think they're still taking some really good fights, especially their rotates around 40 on that Sanok game. I was really impressed with that. The main issue that we're seeing right now, there's been an issue actually throughout all of today so far, is that they've taken really solid fights, but they're losing players. And when you lose one player, you lose two players, unfortunately, your transition in next fights, it even happened in Water City. That was around.
Watertown.
It's the same thing.
Atlantic.
Okay, sure. I know what that area. You guys know what I'm talking about. They lose players, and the transition from that spot is just never going to work out. So the fights again, I think they make sense, but you've got to keep your full team alive if you want to have a chance to go for the win at the end.
And I feel like for some of these teams, like especially like Boy Donkey, right? We've talked to Defi. He has told us what the expectations were. And now, with 3 matches left, currently where you sit in the leaderboard, I feel like for them and also for a lot of the other teams, they have to set the expectation, okay, you know what, I feel like going for that championship might be a little bit too far. Where do we actually want to end up being at the end of the day? I had this conversation earlier at the beginning of the day with Alpha 7. They were saying that championship's just too far away. We're trying to be at least within the top 3. For Boy Donkey, I feel like right now their goal should be a minimum top 5.
It feels so hard because right now I'm looking at all of these teams, and so many teams are doing really, really amazing play. Again, that's why I have TJB also as one of the picks, and Boy, they're doing great plays. But at the point of the tournament, you have 3 matches left. Well, guess what? Good plays are not going to cut it if you want to race for that first place, which is hard to say, but it is unfortunately the realistic truth of this situation they found themselves in.
The fact is, you've been playing all year long, all your career long, to get here to PMGC. Some of the players obviously returning for multiple times, some are returning after taking themselves the trophy. For instance, players like Silas, very underwhelming performance back last year in Turkey, as S2G did not have a great performance, and you knew he still had that drive inside of him to keep going. Rebuilds with the new team with Regan Carrier brought, and you can just tell that trophy's around the corner for him. But it's still tough to be in these positions, to know like that one mistake, that one bad call could ruin your chance to pick up the trophy. And honestly, if you're a coach, I don't even know what the hell you would say to your team other than just, take it game by game, take it play by play, and try to keep calm.
Well, if you're Pekka, just do magic tricks.
He's just the word. He's actually not the coach for the team, he's actually the magician for the team. It's just magic.
That's the new meta. You have DBS, then it's going to be the hovercraft, and now you need a magician on your team if you want to be
The entertainer. Keep it up, Pickle. It's working out. You guys are currently in first place, even though it might be just 2 points. I feel like for this team, we have been able to see a bit more of the progression out of them in regards to the past. I think I would always look at them and be like, okay, you guys can definitely be consistent in regards to the placement points. At some point, if you do want to be able to become the champion, we need to see those elimination numbers. And so far today, we talked about it earlier, I feel like finally we're starting to see a little bit more of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Pekka was talking about when I chatted with him before the Grand Finals, right after the league stage. He said this team is just well more suited for the idyllic style of Raul to just make things feasible in the first place. So yeah, everything is just gelling perfectly together, and the stars align for maybe them to pick up this trophy.
It's so weird to hear that too, because we obviously saw the formations with Coops on the roster, and if we're talking about just having fragging power, I mean, Coops is definitely a player that's always been in that conversation, but it has to be something besides fragging power that's allowing this team to have a performance like this. We check in with our top 4 players, and right now, it looks like Loxy might be setting himself up to beat the finals MVP.
Okay, I mean, Loxy's up there.
Okay.
I thought they wanted to jump in.
I mean, he was the quiet one on the team that we've been talking about in league stage.
Exactly, I remember Blank mentioned a few times, right, like, oh, we're not seeing enough from Wild and Loxy, and we're like, we're waiting for them to rise up, man. You're doing it at the right time here, because Kim is, of course, is not here to kind of step in that role he was having in the league stage. I'm loving what we've seen from Wild and Loxy so far, and being MVP, that would be a great, well, the best achievement you could do, technically, this year.
Before we ended up going there to that top players, you were talking about the previous Enigma Galaxy, right? And now how Pekko thinks this Enigma Galaxy is just so much better suited for the way that Raul is able to IGL. And I feel like it has to do because they just don't have to rely on just one player. In the past, yeah, you had Lord, you had Freak in your squad, but the main thing for that squad was always going to be Coops. Okay, what is Coops going to be able to do? Every single time, especially from what I remember being able to break down some of their playing style, whenever Coops ended up getting eliminated, you'd be like, okay, it's pretty much like a toss-up for that team. What are they, even though we know the other players can get some eliminations, is not going to be something outrageous. Now, for this team, though, it's not just one player. It's not just one one player that you're going to be depending on in regards to eliminations is everybody, and on top of that, Raouf, the IGL, is being able to get illims as well.
It really reminds me actually of D plus K, right? Every single player on the team is just doing so damn well when it comes to fragging potential and just working in perfect harmony in these pushes in the IGL pool. Like, Ralph, whatever you say, we'll do it, but we'll do it together. And that is really what makes champions here. You're never going to see a team win a grand tournament or like PMGC, PMWC, or PMGO by just doing solo plays, everyone doing their own thing. Like, you have to play so damn well together, so closely together, and that's what we have been seeing from Enigma Galaxy in the second half of 2024.
Well, we are just moments away here from getting into our final Erangel of the day. We're running out of matches, we're running out of time here for any of these teams to make that mad dash in the final moments to lift that trophy and take home that lion's share of $3 million. But let's head into this final Erangel. Let's hear some noise from the audience. We bring it back to our commentators, John Allen and Blake.
For the final time of 2024, we will see the grassy pastures of Erangel pass beneath the plain as we head from the southwest corner up towards Stalba. Match 16 of 18, and it seems like just 2 days ago that we started these finals. Blank, that's because it was, and we are drawing it ever closer to its inexorable end.
Two horses galloping towards the front at the moment with Enigma Galaxy and RCB. 2 points in between these two squads. Looking for a strong finish here. More points on board. Enigma Galaxy has great control over towards Erangel at the moment. Now breathing easy right now. Getting a western plane here. Teams will be rotating out in a slightly odd fashion. It's not been a lot we have sent the plane from that western side. A lot of times we've been going from Nova Radnoja or the south side of Sosnovka. So definitely a little bit of a change up here on our final Erangel of the day.
The mainland skew of this plane path up to the northwest edge. The Falcons down very, very early. They're playing that west side of the map right now. Unlikely that they're going to break all the way down to that military base. Not expecting it. 4MB maybe looking to go for that from the drop down towards the south side. And still keeping an eye out for hot drops. We've seen so many teams be punished. A southeast shift, it doesn't put the military base in the circle, but it does cut out with a lot of water over towards the Milta Peninsula.
Oh, it's third wheel in the conversation, that's for sure, down towards that south side. Nova Radnoja being in causes some problems as well, because by the time you get into that stage 2, likely there'll still be some of that water left inwards, making it a bit more claustrophobic for these teams, squeezing them into a smaller space, which you never really want to see. We might see some teams go down fairly early in this match. RCB not quite at the front here, but Enigma Galaxy with everywhere to go from Pachinki. Great springboard for them into the future of this match.
Teams with their last chance to put points up on Erangel now. And it is the top 2 on these tables that have distinguished themselves. Plenty of teams on a fall from grace. They have slipped by the wayside here with only 3 matches left to play. It could all change, but it's starting to look less and less likely. For 4MV, I mean, the way that they have been able to achieve in this final is exemplary when it comes to having that confidence knocked back over in the survival stage. They have really pulled something together here and have had an impact. They've broken that 100-point barrier, but they are now still 27 points behind. To make that gap up when Enigma Galaxy look to be so on form, I don't know if they can do it.
I mean, no matter what anyone says, for 4MV, like you say, it has been a great run for them. 5th place, 100 points. It is close though. And the boys on the desk were talking about it. This is probably our most competitive. Not even probably, this is definitely our most competitive PMGC we've had so far. After the adjustments to the formats this year, making it ever so tough to make it to the top. But you can tell that. Just with the way that the points drop down on the tables. 106 in 3rd place. 8th place is 94.
There's a real big drop down, and it's definitely, you're right, the most competitive parts of PUBG Mobile history we've seen. And this time around, it seems like those openings just being denied to teams that really capitalized on them before in previous years, in previous situations. They are being denied those openings. In this set of 16 teams, there is little to no weaknesses, right? There is just so few opportunities to sail on through, to find a strong approach, and the effectiveness of just raw power is so much reduced. You have to rely more on your intelligence, more on your strategy. And that's where I think we're seeing teams like Incilio start to shine, right? They are bringing these new strategies fast, effectively into the mix.
It's got to be done a lot of times as well. I think for Enigma Galaxy, this would have been a good time to send out, but for RCB, it's a crisp rotation, and they land right in the dip. Good position for them to play going forward, vicious towards their northeast side. And for RCB, it is a little bit dangerous in terms of the amount of teams that are going to be around you, but they have center right now, which is great to see. Enigma Galaxy, they will be making their way through. Two South Korean Guardians will block their path though on the north side.
A difficult approach on that one, and they may opt to go south instead. We'll have to wait and see how they want to play this one out. Over towards farm, you've got Team Spirit to try and push through, and the Falcons are approaching from behind on the west side. Meanwhile, on the route out from Severny, that sort of area around shooting range, TJB are looking to make their way into the north side of this circle. Near Yasnaya Poliana, they've got some free and open crossings. No one really competing for that ground at all, so they do have a nice little approach there, but not so lucky for Alpha 7 and Guild, both coming a cropper upon one another as Exo beams a shot over towards Rebel. Really nice stuff from Exo. And Alpha 7 losing one, maybe two, a third in the mix. We'll have to wait and see, because Carrillo is the last to stand for them. Exo and Jakey up for the fight. The res coming through, 4 seconds left. They will find two, but it'll be low HP. Exo, Jakey looking for the timing on the fight. Break out the back. Carrillo holding down the left side, waiting for this heal to come through and an immediate re-knock. A step out wide. Exo's rebuffed. Jakey with a challenge, but Carrillo keeps Alpha 7 in. All 4 of them stay alive, Blank, and that is crucial.
For Alpha 7, that is one hell of a patched up scenario coming through from Carrillo. Some quick triage on a high pressure scenario versus Guild. That will keep Alpha 7 in to move a little bit further into this game, but they still have not shrugged off 13th place. That mantle being theirs alone to bear right now. In the meantime, Enigma Galaxy, it's south, down towards the coastal side. Falcons are on their north, but lost a player to Na'Vi not that long ago, to Lemon.
Dribs and drabs, drop-offs from players left and right is far from ideal for these teams looking to try and make their break, but less and less will be paying attention too much towards the bottom of the tables because of the proximity and points towards the top. It's all to play for. TJB, I think today they have had their best day so far. I think it's safe to say they've had 2 really strong elimination-focused performances. I'm looking for a rotational performance from them now to see if they've got the full Monty, the whole package on that northern edge, to see if they can find their way in.
Foreign V, 100 points. It's when they need to step up a little bit taller. Playing around Milta, we're worried. You've got the Piranhas in Incilio forever waiting to see where they can bite down, especially in those hovercrafts. Hard to keep the school away from you, really. Thundertalk coming towards that eastern side. One of our only teams far out towards the east right now, playing around Minimilta as well as Lumberyard. You can see on your screens. We'll be heading into stage 2.
Okay, up north. Over towards the Yaz fields, that mansion area, those fields, that split. A lot of open ground, the dips are in play, Blank. The south edge of Yasnaya Field, a soft barrier for teams looking to push up north. 4MV and Incilio clashing 1-for-1 on the trade right now. Both of them